Well, hello, guys. I am so sorry to be a couple minutes late. Please mount that like button for me. We have got so much to unpack today, don't we? Now, if you saw my stream last night, that I think I started the stream probably around midnight or something like that, in which I basically said, no offense, but I told you so to all of the Republicans who have been telling me for 6 months that abortion really wasn't going to be all that important, and I really didn't need to worry about it at all, and really it was gonna make no difference in the election at all. Well, Republicans, I'm sorry, but I told you so. I told you so. And I'm going to prove on this stream that abortion was the issue last night. Abortion drove all of this, and it was unstoppable. And I think there are other contributing factors as well. I think candidate selection was absolutely at play. I think that the absolute fecklessness of the GOP in regards to election fortification was absolutely at play. And I think there are some other factors as well. But what we're going to be talking about today is why the Republicans lost last night. And yes, they did lose. I don't care if they ultimately eke out a victory in the House. I don't care if they ultimately take back the Senate with 1 or 2 seats. Republicans lost last night, and they lost in an extraordinarily bad way. And if Republicans do not learn from this, you will repeat it in 2024 and you will get another 4 years of Biden. And there are a lot of people today that are really resisting the urge to learn anything from this at all. And we're going to talk about that. Incognito says the Pennsylvania Democrats won in a Pennsylvania Democrat won in a landslide despite being dead. Yes, Republicans, your election strategy was so great in Pennsylvania that you lost to an eggplant and a dead person. So, guys, we are going to get into all of that tonight. I have some tweets that I want to respond to from some conservative influencers who are continuing to lie to their audience. And then we're going to do something that I think is going to be really fun. And you may want to stick around for this, you may not, but I am actually curious about this because 6 months ago, I did this stream. I did it on the very day that the draft Roe decision was released. And I did a stream saying, that's it, game over, it's done. The right has lost, and I don't think there's anything that they can do to fix it. I was raked over the coals for this. I was canceled for this. I had comments whining about me. This stream has like so many thumbs down because conservatives, every time you tell them something they don't want to hear, they just say no, and they stick their fingers in their ears and they cancel you all over fucking Twitter. I was raked over the coals for my position on this, and I turned out to be 100% correct. And what I want to do after we have a conversation, we're not doing this first, we're going to do this at the end of the stream. After we have a conversation, I want to go back and watch the first part of this stream because most of this stream is us watching. I think, if I remember correctly, I think it's me watching some like crazy abortion like videos to try to get a sense for where the left was at. But on this stream, I talk about why the right lost the culture war with regards to Roe v. Wade. And I want to just go back and watch it again and see how much I got correct 6 months ago. I don't remember exactly what I said on this stream, to be quite honest. So it's going to be a surprise for me too. I may get some stuff wrong on this stream, but I want to know, and I want to go back and watch it. Well, Bree's saying what a lot of Republicans are saying today, which is, but Florida, DeSantis won. We couldn't possibly have lost because DeSantis won. Florida is the only place that you won. Florida is the only place that you won. And if you continue to deny this reality that you lost, you are going to re-elect Biden in 2 years. And I'm putting this on the internet, and I will leave this on the internet for 2 years from now. And we're going to see if Republicans listen. And we're going to see if Republicans learn. My guess right now, based on the amount of nonsense that I've seen today coming out of your conservative influencers' mouths, is that you will not listen and you will not learn because your conservative influencers are lying to you right now. So I actually have no expectation that Republicans are going to listen because they're doing stuff like this. They're saying, well, all of the red state governors were reelected. How could we have possibly lost? Did you pick up any governorships? Did you win any? How many seats you win in the House? You don't even officially control the House yet. You don't officially control the Senate yet. You did not win. So we're going to do that, and we're going to talk about it. Now, I want to start off with this. We're going to start off with me yammering a little bit, and you can listen or not. In normal years, and you can go back in history and fact check me on this. In normal years, when there is a party in power that controls the presidency, the House, and the Senate, the midterm elections in those years are slaughters. Go back and look what happened in 2010 when Barack Obama controlled the presidency and the Democrats controlled the House and the Senate. I think it was 2010. I could be wrong. Go back and see what the midterms look like because the Democrats got slaughtered. And that traditionally is true. The party in power gets beaten badly in the midterms. So, all other things being equal, there really should have been a red wave last night. There should have been. There absolutely should have been a tsunami last night. And what that actually would have looked like, if the normal thing had happened, the Republicans already today would be up probably like 20, 30 seats in the House. No, you didn't. This is a lie. Anyone who has told you this is a lie, this is not true. This is a lie. I don't know why conservative influencers are lying to their audience with things that are completely easy to debunk. This is not true. There is no universe in which this is currently true. But influencers like to lie to their audiences for some reason, and their audiences listen and they don't fact check things. In a normal midterm year, the Republicans would have picked up 20 to 30 seats last night, not to be decided several weeks from now with multiple recounts because the races are so close. Last night, and they probably would have picked up 5 seats in the Senate. What actually happened is that Republicans are going to control the House by maybe 5 votes. Republicans are going to win the House. But it is not a big win. Maybe 5 votes. The Republicans rightfully, if the midterms had played out the way every other midterm has played out, Republicans should have been up 20 to 30 seats by now. They are eking out the smallest of victories. And in the Senate, they may not gain anything. They may not gain anything at all. The most that Republicans are going to gain in the Senate is 2 seats. That is a slaughter. That is a slaughter. And by the way, even if the Republicans come out of this controlling the House and controlling the Senate, they are not going to be able to get anything done. Nothing. We are going to be in absolute and complete gridlock for the next 2 years. And if Republicans do not learn from this and learn why this happened, then there is nothing that can help you. No, Laura, this is not a win. This is not a win. No more Nancy as House Speaker? Okay, what did you actually gain from that? This is the mentality of Republic. I just don't understand this. What do you gain from Nancy Pelosi not being the House Speaker? What win do you have that's actually real? That you don't want to watch Nancy Pelosi on TV? That wins you nothing. That literally wins you nothing. You understand it is not going to help you pass any bills. It is not going to help advance your initiatives at all. You still have to go through the Senate for everything. Well, your legislation isn't going to get passed, Laura. There is no reality in which you are going to pass any additional legislation in the way that this is shaking out. The only win that you get from Nancy Pelosi not being the House Speaker is that you don't have to see Nancy Pelosi on the news as the House Speaker. That is it. And until you accept this, you are going to continue to lose. Okay, what are those committees going to do? You guys understand that nothing actually changes if you can't pass bills, right? Nothing changes if you can't pass bills. And there is no reality in which you are going to be passing any bills that are what you want them to be. It's gone. That's not going to happen. So, the Republicans lost last night for several reasons. The number one reason that Republicans lost is abortion. That is the number one reason. When Roe v. Wade was overturned, when the draft, even before it was officially overturned, when the draft decision came out, I was one of very few people that said, you guys are completely fucked. And the reason I knew that better than, hang on. Doing nothing is better than the Democrats having control. You people are such fucking morons. This is why you lose. This is why you deserve to lose. Because you literally think that doing nothing is winning. I don't know who taught you that. That doing nothing is winning. But that is the most fucking retarded thing I've ever heard in my life. In what universe is doing nothing winning? While you are doing nothing and being excited about doing nothing, the left still controls every major institution in this country. Congratulations on your doing nothing. You're giving the left more power. The reason that Republicans lost last night was because of abortion. And when the draft Roe decision came out, I was one of very few people who said, this is going to permanently fuck you. And I was clear, and I said it in no uncertain terms. And what I was told at the time by your conservative influencers was, No. No. The voters don't care about abortion. People don't vote based on abortion. Oh, honey, you're so silly. The voters are going to forget about this. They don't care about it. Really? Really, Republicans? George says, busy, just stop by to put my contribution to the Carlin was right tip jar. Thank you, George. The rule on the channel is that when I'm right and you're wrong, you owe me a $2 super chat or more if you want. Oh, Republicans, you think that abortion wasn't the issue? Oh, okay. Okay. Let's look at this tweet from Julie Kelly. Julie Kelly is a senior writer for American Greatness. She is not a liberal. Let me just make this bigger. Exit polls show abortion was a much bigger issue than most polls indicated before Election Day. You see, what happened is that Republicans ran all these rigged polls by people like Rich Barris and Trafalgar, which are both partisan polling apparatuses, you guys understand. And those polls told Republicans that abortion wasn't going to be an issue, that the American people didn't care about abortion, that it wasn't going to impact things, that inflation was the number one issue people cared about, and that was going to trump any concern that they had about abortion at all. And by the way, it's just a states' rights issue. And so this is just going to be a calm conversation about states' rights. Well, as it turned out, every single conservative who sold the notion that the American people, and particularly women, didn't care about Roe v. Wade being overturned were wrong. And I told you guys this from the very beginning. Because do you know what happened to me when that draft Roe decision was leaked? Because I still keep in touch with a lot of people who walked away, legitimate walkaways from the Democratic Party. People who, like me, who were really Democrats, who are pro-choice, maybe think the Democrats have gone too far on abortion, but are still pro-choice, left the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party were going crazy, and were maybe flirting with the idea of the Republican Party. But do you know what I heard from pretty much every single one of them after the draft Roe decision was released? What they said to me was, Carlin, I will never vote for Republicans again. Republicans lost every single woman that they got to defect from the Democratic Party in 2020 and in 2021. I'm not talking about the women who are claimed to be walkaways, but were always conservative, because there are a lot of people like that. They claim that they left the Democratic Party, but they're pro-life Christian conservatives. Pro-life Christian conservatives don't exist in the Democratic Party. So there are a lot of people that shill this story online. I left the Democratic Party, but I was always pro-life. I'm pro-life. I'm pro-life. No, you were not a Democrat. Oh yeah, Youngkin's going to lose next time. Yeah, Youngkin is 100% going to lose. Because the issue that got women to defect from the Democratic Party in 2020 and in 2021 in Virginia specifically was the schools. It was what was going on in the schools. However, those women were really fucking pissed when Roe was overturned. And they declared in private over and over and over again, I will never vote for a Republican ever again. I heard all this from the very beginning. And by the way, another thing I was telling Republicans is these women are not honest with pollsters. They are honest when they're talking to other women. They're honest in private where they know it's not going to be used against them. But they are not honest with pollsters. Yeah, Rafa, how do you explain that you have like no pickups and there was no red wave? This is the arrogant hubris of conservatives. So Tulsi Gabbard must not have voted for any Republican again. How did Tulsi do with her endorsements? Because I saw Tulsi in New Hampshire endorsing Don Bolduc. Don Bolduc lost by 11 points last night. Conservative polling put Don Bolduc up 1 point after Tulsi came and endorsed him. Because this was the story. This was the narrative that conservatives wanted to tell. Look, we have this former Democrat that's out endorsing Republicans. Isn't this great? And then magically, as soon as the Republicans were rolling out Tulsi Gabbard to go and support all of their Republican candidates, Republicans also started putting out these polls that were mysteriously done by Trafalgar, which is associated with the Daily Wire, that said, it's gonna be a red wave, it's gonna be a red tsunami. And none of those polls were correct. And Tulsi Gabbard's endorsement meant nothing. Because the candidates, many of them, though not all of them, that Tulsi Gabbard endorsed, lost. Oh, we'll get to that, Michael. Don't you worry. But I will tell you that if Republicans do not drop the abortion issue, they will lose again in 2024. Actually, you know what? Let's cut to the chase and then we'll look at this abortion data because Michael has asked the question. The only play that Republicans have on the abortion issue is they need to drop it. They need to stop. If you continue to beat this pro-lifer, ban all abortion everywhere drum, you are going to lose in 2024 and you are going to lose every close election for the rest of your lives. That is what your influencers should be telling you. If you do not drop the issue, you are going to lose every close election for the rest of your lives, and you will elect Joe Biden to another 4 years in the presidency. And then when he dies or becomes incapacitated, you will have elected Kamala Harris to the presidency. And it will be entirely by your hand because you didn't drop the abortion issue. If you don't want an abortion, then don't get an abortion. It is really that simple. But stop forcing your pro-life Christianity on everyone else because we do not agree with you. And if you don't look at the data and see clearly how wrong you were and how much this drove your loss last night, I don't know what to tell you guys anymore. It really does seem to me that Republicans and conservatives are hell-bent on just shooting themselves in the foot over and over and over and over and over again. You need to drop the issue. You need to say, you know what? Roe v. Wade has been repealed. The states are going to do what they're going to do. If you want to have an abortion, that is between you and God. And we're not going to interfere anymore. That's what you need to do. Because if you continue to push this issue, I promise you, you are going to get exactly the same results that you got last night. Disby says, go ahead and just preemptively tip her on that. Thank you, Disby. Thank you. I appreciate that. Emphasize says, why is the Democrat Party trying to decrease their numbers by glorifying abortion? Well, that is their business. That is their business. Because another thing that sunk the Republican Party last night was youth voter turnout. So they're not sinking their own. You guys can make this joke all you want. If you want to joke about this and make it and make fun of it, you can do that. But the fact of the matter is it was the youth vote last night that sunk the Republican Party. So they're not decreasing their numbers. They're not decreasing their numbers in any tangible way. In fact, they're increasing their numbers because they took over the educational system that is training the young people. They don't need to have a ridiculous amount of children in order to create new voters. They create new voters in the schools. So joke about this if you want, but your joking about it is going to prevent you from doing anything tangible to actually win in 2024. And then we have people who are delusional, like Kelly here, just like, they didn't lose. No, no, no. They didn't lose. They didn't lose. No, no, no. I don't see it. They didn't lose. They can't possibly lose. Kelly, you're delusional and not hinged into reality. I'm not pulling any punches, guys. We're not doing that today. So, emphasize it's not a non-answer. It was a very specific answer. You are wrong. That's the answer. You're wrong. Your entire premise is wrong. If you want to keep denying it's wrong, you can do that. But it won't matter. No, you've lost the abortion argument. You've lost. You have lost the abortion argument. You have lost in every possible way. You need to drop it. All right, Michael. Well, if you would like to lose in 2024, you are welcome to continue deflecting. See, this is why I don't even fucking I don't even know why I bother. I don't even know why I bother. No, it was not a tie because it should have been a red bloodbath last night. It was not a tie. You lost. This is just like, my God. My God. Republicans are completely unhinged. Let's look at this data. This is from CBS News. Which one of these 5 issues mattered most in deciding how you voted today? Abortion, 76% for Democrats. That is more than inflation and immigration mattered to Republicans. The Democrats had record turnout yesterday because they galvanized their entire base around the abortion issue from the very moment that the Roe draft was released in May. This is not up for dispute. Prior to the Roe draft being released, there was a ridiculous amount of infighting in the Democratic Party. The progressives hated Joe Biden. They were not going to play with him. They were not going to work with him. There was just infighting constantly. And then the draft Roe decision got released. And that is what brought the entire Democratic Party together. And they kissed and they made up. And they may not have agreed on a lot of issues, but they agreed on this one thing, and that is that anyone who was remotely responsible for the repeal of their favorite bill, which I always told you guys was their favorite thing, Roe v. Wade, they made the choice that no matter their disagreements amongst themselves, the GOP and the Republicans and MAGA needed to be destroyed because they took away Roe v. Wade. If you do not understand this, women who are raised on the left or in any proximity to the left at all are indoctrinated into believing that abortion is a fundamental human right from the time they are in elementary school. They believe that when you are taking that right away, you are taking away their right to control their own body, which, to be quite frank, isn't actually untrue. It is their most sacred thing that they value above all else. And so when Roe v. Wade was repealed, you gave them the one and only thing that could have brought the Democratic Party together. And not only did it eliminate all of the, not all of it, but a good portion of the bickering and infighting, they now had a common enemy. And that common enemy was the party that took Roe v. Wade away from them. And then what they decided to do was they decided to fundraise off of this forever. Now, I think that the Republicans were planning this from the moment that the Texas bill was introduced. This election was lost the moment that Texas passed that abortion bill. Well, Michael, you do not understand that you are going to lose the Supreme Court because Democrats are going to end up packing the Supreme Court at some point. Not right now. They can't do it right now. But if you guys lose again in 2024, you are going to lose the Supreme Court because the Democrats are going to pack it. They're not done yet. So you want to say that, Christians only voted for Trump because of this? You guys are going to fucking lose. They're going to codify this into law and they're going to pack the Supreme Court so that you can never win on this issue again. Congratulations, you gained a lot. This fight was lost the minute that Texas introduced that bill. Because that bill, the 15-week Heartbeat bill, or whatever the fuck it was called, that bill wasn't even couldn't even go into effect in Texas when it was passed. That bill in Texas was introduced entirely to get to the Supreme Court. I'm going to say this again because this is something that Republicans are not listening to. You were played. The reason that bill in Texas was introduced in the first place was to create a challenge in the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade. And the Democrats always knew that you were going to do that eventually. And I know this because I've now watched a lot of their videos talking about this. They planned for you to overturn Roe v. Wade. I'm going to say that again. The Democratic Party always knew that you were going to get Roe v. Wade overturned on some point, at some point. They always knew it was going to happen. They had planned for it to happen. They had contingencies in place for when it happened. And you handed them that on a silver platter the second that that bill was introduced in Texas. Because then it got legally challenged by the Democrats, and then it went to the Supreme Court. And that was always the goal. It was always the goal on both sides. The Republicans introduced that bill to get it to the Supreme Court. The Democrats were waiting for the Republicans to introduce that bill so that they could sue them and get it to the Supreme Court. Both sides wanted it to go to the Supreme Court. And I would even argue both sides wanted Roe v. Wade repealed because both sides knew that Roe v. Wade was not properly decided. The Democrats always knew, and I know this because I have watched them say it. The Democrats always knew that eventually Roe v. Wade would be overturned because it was not properly decided. And so they used you to get it to the Supreme Court to either affirm it or to repeal it. And they planned for it to be repealed. Because if you think that the Democratic Party did not purposefully leak that Roe v. Wade draft in order to galvanize their base, that was not a rogue Supreme Court justice. That was not just a single person who got a copy of that Roe v. Wade draft and released it by themselves. That was a concerted effort by the Democratic Party. It was planned. It was orchestrated. They released the Roe v. Wade draft to rile up their base. And when they riled up their base, they raised record amounts of money. Roe v. Wade was their biggest fundraising opportunity in my lifetime. And so then you might ask, well, Carlin, why did the Democrats introduce that bill that came out after the Roe v. Wade draft if they were just using it to raise money? Why did they introduce the bill to codify it into law? Well, they introduced the bill to codify it into law because they knew that bill wouldn't pass. They didn't want the bill to pass. They used this to keep fighting every second up to the midterms. They used the repeal of Roe v. Wade to galvanize their base, to excite their base, to give them a reason to turn out. And they especially focused on college campuses. And we're going to talk about the college campuses in a second. But every reason that Republicans lost last night is because of Roe v. Wade. And the data backs this up. Let's look at some other polls here. Which comes closest to your position on abortion? Democrat, legal in all cases, 86%, legal in most cases, 60%. Republicans, illegal in most cases, 90%, illegal in all cases, 88%. Which comes closest to your position on which comes closest to your position? Abortion should be legal versus illegal. This is where you lost. Even here, check this out. 38% Republicans said abortion should be legal in most cases. This is where you guys don't pay attention. 38% of Republicans said abortion should be legal in most cases. How do you feel about the Supreme Court decision on abortion this year that overturned Roe v. Wade? A sample of 4,600, which is a very large sample. That's about 4 times the sample they actually need to make a statistically accurate poll. 85% of Democrats were angry about the Roe v. Wade repeal. 46% in this how they're doing this were dissatisfied. It was only the Republicans that were enthusiastic. Democrats were not. Republicans were. This is what they used to excite their base. How do you feel about the Supreme Court decision on abortion this year that overturned Roe v. Wade? Enthusiastic or satisfied? 86% Republicans. Dissatisfied or angry? 71% Democrats. Democrats are far better organizers than Republicans. So if Democrats are angry, you're going to have a fucking problem. And you had a problem. You had a problem last night. Now, there's a couple other things I want to show you. Check this out. One thing I know already, if not for the voters under 30, tonight would have been a red wave. If not for voters under 30. Well, that's interesting. The minute that I knew that Republicans were going to get their asses kicked yesterday is the minute that I saw reporting from a local reporter who went to the University of New Hampshire and filmed the same day voter registration line that was about 1.5 miles long. Actually, let me see if I can go find it real quick. Hang on. Let me see if I can find this real quick. So this reporter, oh gosh, I can probably just look up his name. I think I remember who it was. Hang on. Hang on one sec, guys. Hang on. Oh, here it is. Here it is right here. This is the same day voter registration line in Durham, which is where the University of New Hampshire is. This is the only significant line that I saw for voting yesterday in New Hampshire. Voting in New Hampshire is pretty quick. You're in, you're out. You don't usually have to wait in line. This was all same day voter registration. And I suspect it was the same thing at colleges around the country. Same day voter registration on college campuses. Why did Democrats get away with this? Because they own the colleges. And every single one of these voters that we see is a vote for Democrats. Every single one of them. UNH was not the only college campus that this was true on last night. And that is why that is another reason why Republicans lost. And you guys need to start listening to this, and you need to start taking it seriously. Because try as you might, you cannot raise the voting age above 30 just because it suits you. The Democrats control every major institution in this country. The Democrats control the entire education system in this country. They control what your children learn from the moment you send them to public school when they are 4 or 5 years old until the moment that they leave college at whatever age they do it at. And every single person that goes through those education systems, for the most part, are going to end up voting Democrat when they're young. And there is nothing you can do to change this. These schools are completely corrupt and are not fixable in this lifetime. Certainly not with the strategies that are being used right now, which is something I'm going to be focusing a large amount of my time on moving forward. If Charlie Kirk made an appearance at UNH, he would be chased off the campus and not allowed to present. That's not going to happen. You are not a serious person. You are not contributing productively. And this is why you lose. You guys can make all the jokes about it that you want. This is why you lose. If you want to lose again in 2024, keep making jokes. But this is why you lose. So if only people over 30 had voted last night, there would have been a red wave. That's not winning, Republicans. That's losing. Because whether you like it or not, you are going to have to contend with this. Let's look at some other tweets from Jack Posobiec. This is something that's really, you know what I've been hearing all day. And by the way, I'm going to pick on Jack Posobiec a little bit. I actually really like Jack Posobiec. And generally speaking, I think that Jack Posobiec does a fairly good job. But Jack Posobiec is wrong about this. The number one excuse that I have been hearing about why Republicans lost last night is there must have been fraud. I'm going to say this clearly, and this is not one of those times where I'm trying to obfuscate the YouTube rules. There is no evidence of voter fraud. There is no evidence of fraud. There is absolutely zero evidence of fraud. There is no evidence of fraud. I will keep saying this as many times as I need to. Blaming your loss, which was predicated on your insane overthrow of Roe v. Wade, by saying election fraud, makes you sound crazy. It makes you sound completely and totally unhinged from reality. There was no fraud. But this is what I'm hearing from Republicans. Dems learned to mass harvest votes by mail in every Rust Belt state and highly effective youth vote ops, which I just said, by the way, they had a highly effective college turnout. And they're never going to turn it off. Either the GOP admits this and puts big money into behind it, or they have even more uneven elections like this forward. One of two things is true. Either there was no fraud, which is my position, or very, 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 very minimal to the point where it did not impact the results of the election. Because again, we saw these across the country. This was not in targeted areas. This was across the country. One of two things is true. Either there was no fraud or very, very minimal fraud, or the GOP did an absolutely horrendous job of fortifying the voter integrity issues that they have been screaming about for the past 2 years. If the GOP can legitimately prove fraud, then my very next question is, why didn't you do anything about it? You've been complaining about this for 2 straight years. If you knew it was going to happen and you know how it happened, then why didn't you do anything about it? Emphasize says, asking for it playing on Hulu. Thanks, Emphasize, for that. There was no fraud, and the GOP knows there wasn't any fraud, and they're lying to their base. They called that for her because they knew that she was outperforming in other districts. Has that turned out to be incorrect? No, because they know how to call these things. My feed has been filled with Republicans today. No, Carl, these votes aren't real. What's going on in Arizona? Do you know what's going on in Arizona? Arizona sucks at counting ballots, and they're going to count them, and the answers are going to come out in a couple of days. The GOP didn't lose. They didn't lose. How could you possibly say they lost? Bro, you're delusional. Delusional. Breaking the flaw. Yeah. I know. You got a lawsuit to file, buddy. Come on. Focus on that. Nothing we can do now. Tim Pool showed his true colors. We're moving on. You got to focus on the lawsuit, dude. You're being a Karen. This is how conservatives act. They've been doing this to me all day. And this is why I really don't actually give a fuck if you guys win or lose. Because you complain and you whine and you lie and you make shit up. When people are telling you things you don't want to hear, conservatives, and you attack those people and smear those people and ridicule those people and then create these fantasies where you are actually correct and everyone is working against you, that's why you lose. That's why you lose. There was no fraud. Any influencer that is telling you there was fraud is lying. In Arizona, they are going to count the ballots. The results will probably be out this week. I suspect that Kari Lake is going to win the governor of Arizona. I hope Blake Masters loses, if I'm honest. But, he might win. I always said from day one, you're going to be fine in Florida. You're going to be fine in Arizona. You are fucked everywhere else. And that's turned out to be right. Let's look at some other tweets. Oh, that's just me looking at Republicans being idiots. Oh, God, this one. You know what? I actually, again, Will Chamberlain is another guy that I do actually respect. I do actually respect him. But he's retweeting Michael here, and Michael says, "Well, it's official. Democrats are the party of unmarried women whose most important political issue is assuring the ability to kill their babies. God help us." And Will Chamberlain said, "What if you could only vote if you were married?" Conservatives, let me be very, very blunt with you, as though I haven't been already. One of the reasons that you are losing voters is because you are deeply insulting to anyone who dares to disagree with you. You cannot spit in someone's face over and over and over and over and over again and then expect those people to show up and vote for you. So saying that Democrats are the party of unmarried women and aren't they stupid when they just kicked your ass? That seems a little bit condescending, doesn't it? Why am I so pissed about Republicans losing? I'm not pissed about Republicans losing. I think that Republicans losing is probably the best thing that could happen to them. It makes no difference to me if Republicans win or lose. Why I'm talking about it, emphasize, is A, I will talk about whatever the flying fuck I want on my channel. And B, I predicted this 6 months ago. So if you think that this strategy is going to win you over and fix the problems that you're having, that's probably not going to work. We looked at that one already. Here's Jenna Ellis. What the GOP really needs to focus on: no borders, no police, no guns, abortions whenever, mutilating children, woke teachers in schools. They tried all those issues, and they were overshadowed by abortion. Don't listen to people like this. This is what I've been hearing from conservatives all day. Carlin, I really respect you, and I've always enjoyed your Twitter, but you're just really angry. All right. Keep selling that story. I don't think it's going to do you any good, but hey. But what I really want to look at is just some of the bookmarks that I have. Now, first off, there are some people that you guys should never, ever, ever listen to again. Some of those people run the post-millennial. Any influencer who told you that there was going to be a red wave last night, or that this was going to be the Trump blood moon, the return of the king, any influencer who told you that there was going to be a red wave, you need to view with suspicion from now on, because they lied to you and they sold you a bill of goods that had no basis in reality at all. By the way, Trump is done. Trump is done. There is not going to be a Trump presidency after this. That's not going to happen. Trump is done. I hope everyone understands that. And the other thing I want to say, because, Sandra, you reminded me of this. Hey, Free Stater here. A libertarian called me crazy yesterday for saying kids are conditioned and or programmed in school at an early age. Well, that libertarian doesn't know what the Yeffy's talking about. Then don't watch me emphasize. If you don't like my... You know what? When I said this 6 months ago, I was dragged up and down the internet and canceled by fucking everyone. I'm allowed to have an attitude right now because I was 100% right and you were 100% wrong. And if you don't like it, you can get the fuck off my channel and go watch someone who will whisper the sweet nothings you want to hear in your ear. And that's going to be the way it is, but thanks for the money. Another thing I've been hearing is, it was the libertarians, it was the libertarians, it was the libertarians. Yo, Republicans, I've already done multiple videos about this and you can refer to them. Libertarians do not owe you their votes. You cannot run on a platform of "We're not Democrats," which was basically the Republican Party platform. Let's just be honest. The Republican Party platform has essentially been "We're not Democrats, vote for us" for years now. The Republican Party has not updated their platform since 2010. You cannot run on a not Democrats and expect to win over voters. Justin says, I wish it was my fault. Listen, let me tell you what. The Libertarian Party of New Hampshire last night was completely and totally ready to claim credit for Don Bolduc losing. We were 100% ready to claim credit for it. And do I think we had an impact? Yes, I do. But the fact is that the GOP sucked so badly that even if we had wanted to help Don Bolduc get elected, there was nothing we could do. That's how badly the GOP sucked last night. Even if libertarians had wanted to help the GOP, there was nothing we could do at all. So stop saying that we owe you our votes, because we do not. We do not. I want to look at some of the things I have bookmarked, because I'm beating this dead horse. I'm sorry, guys. I'm taking a victory lap. On May 5th, I tweeted, the fact that Roe is going to backfire colossally on the right should be obvious to anyone who understands how the left operates. As someone who has watched more woke training than anyone else on the planet, I know how the left operates, so on June 28th, I tweeted, there are a lot of people who are deeply delusional about what the impact of overturning Roe will be. They didn't listen when we tried to warn them. They're still not listening. They'll find out. Nothing we can do about it now. On May 4th. Oh, this is fun. This is a fun one. This is a video. Do you guys remember? Well, so here's what happened. On May 4th, I went on a Twitter storm, and this is when that stream that we're going to watch was actually filmed. And I said, this is the day that the draft decision was released. This, I think, is actually the stream we're going to watch. I said that this was going to cost Republicans the midterms and everything else. And someone super chatted into Tim Pool, like asking about, like, what do you think about Carlin's assertion that this is going to destroy the Republicans in the midterms? And Lydia was like, Carlin is just misinformed. Really, Lydia? Really? Was I misinformed? Turns out, no, I was not misinformed. On May 8th, please tell me more about how the Roe repeal isn't going to create massive backlash from the left. This is Robert Reich talking about how they want to pack the Supreme Court. On May 5th, I'm still thinking about Lydia saying I was misled, and that's the only reason I hold my position. That's the only reason I hold my position that Roe is bad for the right. Lydia, I'm like 10 years older than you. Understand psychology. Don't listen to any commentators. Do my own research and decide what I think. On May 4th, the right in 2020 when George Floyd died. Of course Trump will win. Can't wait for November. The right in May 2022 after the Roe decision is announced. Can't wait for the red wave in November. I was right about that. May 4th. The left knows that repealing Roe is a win for them, which is why they are focusing on the decision. The right knows that repealing Roe is a loss for them, which is why they focus on the leak. Democrats were pumping millions of dollars into New Hampshire to run pro-abortion ads for months. I don't know if anyone else in New Hampshire that's listening right now saw this, but there has not been a day that has gone by in months where I have not seen an abortion ad from Democrats in New Hampshire. either on YouTube or some other ad service, or on the rare occasions that I watch TV, like on there. Democrats raised an exorbitant amount of money from the Roe decision, and they used that money for ad buys in key states where they have been pumping abortion ads and messaging into the market for months and months and months and months. Republicans did not have the ad budgets or the fundraising to compete with that. Yeah, Breaking the Flaw says, I saw the ads on my channel ads, on my YouTube videos. I saw them on my videos all the time. It was all abortion ads all the time. Abortion ads specifically. Yeah. And libertarians, we don't have the money to compete with that. There was nothing, like I've been telling the Libertarian Party in New Hampshire today, there was nothing we could do. There was nothing we could do at all. We don't have the money to compete with that. Bot said every ad I saw was about abortion. That's because the Democrats strategically used it to fundraise, and then they put all that money into ad buys everywhere. Republicans could not compete with it at all. And they knew it. January 13th. Get ready for the greatest mobilization we've ever seen from the left when the Roe decision comes, and the right has no idea what they are going to get hit with because they refuse to listen. This was in January. So I started predicting that the Roe decision was going to be bad for Republicans when the case was heard, even before the draft decision. When the case was heard, and Republicans were celebrating. They're like, we're going to repeal Roe v. Wade. And I was like, oh, fuck, here we go. January 13th, I tweeted, get ready for the greatest mobilization we've ever seen from the left. When the Roe decision comes, the right has no idea what they are going to be hit with because they refuse to listen. May 5th. Oh, this is a good one. Considering that Gretchen Whitmer won re-election in Michigan last night. The GOP is going to permanently lose Michigan as a result of this abortion nonsense. Prosecutors across the state and the attorney general are saying they won't enforce any ban if Roe gets repealed. That's a lot of electoral votes. What is the GOP going to do to make them up? And by the way, did you guys know that there was an abortion initiative on the ballot last night in Michigan that won? Abortion is now protected under the law in Michigan because they put it on the ballot. And because they put it on the ballot in Michigan, guess what happened? All those voters from those college campuses who were registering on the same day came out to vote in favor of protecting abortion, and at the same time checked that box for Gretchen Whitmer. That's how you lost Michigan last night. Tudor Dixon maybe could have won, but not with abortion. I agree, Sandra. And just so in case anyone wants to call me a baby killer, and by the way, if you call me a baby killer, you will be instantly blocked on this channel. My personal position on abortion is first trimester with exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. And I personally have never had an abortion, and I don't ever plan to have an abortion. But I understand political realities. May 5th. Actions greater than words. Influencers on the right know that politically the Roe decision hurts them, and they're lying to their base about it. Know how I know? Because I can look at their actions and see that none of them are celebrating. July 5th. I'm not kidding. There's not a day that's gone by since Roe got repealed where I haven't heard from a man saying something like, I don't believe you when I did, excuse me, I didn't believe you when you said that women would turn against Republicans over Roe, but I just talked to my wife. I heard this over and over and over again. I would hear from men who would DM me in the dark of night where no one could see them. And they would say, Carlin, I just talked to my wife and you may be right about this Roe thing. And I was like, I know. I told you. August 2nd, kind of love watching pro lifers realize how badly they're about to get their asses handed to them after the unbelievable arrogance they showed over the Roe decision. May 3rd, has any conservative blue check told their audience the truth yet about this about what the Roe ruling means? May 6th, in order to understand why the repeal of Roe v. Wade is more of a victory for the left than it is for the right, you have to understand what the left's motivations are. The goal isn't what you think it is. And this is where I said the goal is to gain as much power as possible, destabilize the system, attack capitalism, usher in their Marxist utopia. This be, do you think libertarians should jump in on the abortion conversation to pull from the left and play the game too, or stay out of it altogether? I think the libertarians need to stay out of it. Abortion is not in the Libertarian Party platform. We removed it entirely. There used to be an abortion plank in the Libertarian Party platform that said basically, it's none of our effing business, talk to your doctor. Now, the problem with that plank was that pro-lifers viewed that as a pro-choice position. So it made pro-lifers hesitant to join the Libertarian Party because the party platform literally said, we don't care, it's your decision, the government shouldn't be involved. Now, that's generally the position I take, by the way. I don't care if you have an abortion. It makes no difference in my life whatsoever. That's your conversation that you're going to have with God. It's not mine. But in order to make the party more appealing to pro-life people, they removed the abortion plank entirely. That's not to say that the party is pro-life. They're not. The party is also not pro-choice. They're not. The Libertarian Party takes no position on abortion because it is recognized that there are good people on both sides of the issue and that both sides are irreconcilable with the other. Let's see. May 4th. You want to know how positive I am the left will use Roe to go scorched earth? One, the Roe draft galvanized the previous infighting left around something they consider a religious right. Choice, not abortion necessarily, is a religion on the left. It brings them together. Two, when they are galvanized, the left has almost all the power. The right can't stop them. The right believes they play by the same rules as the left, but they do not. The left makes the rules because they own the power structure. They set the right up to walk right into it. Three, the goals of the woke left are as follows. Destabilize the system. Use destabilization to gain as much power as possible. Use that power to attack capitalism. Usher in their Marxist utopia. These are the goals of everything they do. So, of course, they'll use this. I told you this was going to happen on May 4th. So please, stop pretending that this is new information, because it is not. What the right needs to do is they need to admit the first step towards fixing a problem is to admit that a problem exists. The right needs to admit that they screwed the pooch on this one. They need to admit that this was a self-inflicted error that cost them the midterms. It was a self-inflicted error that will cost them every close election for the rest of their lives if they do not stop. The only choice that Republicans have on the abortion issue is to give up and let go and move on. They need to stop. If Republicans keep trying to ban abortion in the states now, they are going to get their asses handed to them in 2024. If Republicans try to do anything nationally that restricts abortion, they are going to get their asses handed to them in 2024. Because the left uses every single thing that the right does regarding abortion to raise ridiculous and unsurmountable amounts of money. If the right doesn't let go and moves on from this issue, then they are going to get Joe Biden reelected in 2024. And if they don't face this reality and they want to scream voter fraud, God help them. God help them. All right. So, what I want to do now is I would like to watch this stream that I did back in May. I want to say, though, before we watch the stream, just do a little promo. Here's what we're going to do. This is the stream that I did the day that the Roe draft decision was released. And I want to go back and see how much I got right. You can stay and hang out, or you can leave, whatever. Please mount that like button if you appreciate the explanation I've given to you for why Republicans lost last night. And I'm honestly curious. How much did I get right at the time? How much did I get wrong? So we're going to go back and watch this stream. But I just want to let you guys know, we're going to do something fun tomorrow. Tomorrow at 5 p.m., special announcement, Andrew Gold is returning to the channel, and we're going to do a non-news day. And Andrew and I, and actually we're going to be joined by Aaron Smith-Levin, and I'm very excited about this. I love Aaron Smith-Levin's channel. I just haven't added him to the thumbnail yet. Aaron Smith-Levin has a great channel called Growing Up in Scientology. He was a Scientologist his whole life. He was on Leah Remini's series about going clear or whatever, like the Leaving Scientology series. He's done a couple of streams with Andrew around the Scientology trial. His channel is blowing up, but it's really great information. I've actually watched a lot of his content before. So we're going to talk with Andrew and Aaron Smith-Levin about what are the attributes of a successful cult, which I think is going to be a great conversation. And I think we're going to do half the conversation on my channel and then half of the conversation on Andrew's channel. He's going to set it, he's got a plan where we're going to do 45 minutes on my channel and then we're going to zoom over and do the rest of the conversation on Andrew's channel. So it's you got to watch it like a twofer. So I think it'll be great. And I'm really looking forward to it. So that's what we're doing tomorrow. And I'm really excited about it. So let's watch me. I'm sure there was yelling and crying and complaining. Let's watch what I said was going to happen back in May on the day that the draft decision was overturned. And let's hold me accountable. Unlike conservative influencers today that are basically running away from all of the things that they told their audience because they lied to their audience for months and months and months and months and months, you can hold me accountable for my positions. I will admit when I am wrong. So let's see what I got right and what I got wrong. Oh, I'm not going to watch this. No. I need a new countdown. Hang on. It's probably easier just to let the countdown play. Is anything going on? Anything controversial that just totally fucked us into oblivion? Is there anything going on today that we need to discuss? Well, I think we all know why we're here. And I'm going to set some ground rules up front because we have more people that are logging in today than we normally do. And I suspect we're going to have some people that are not regulars, like Eureka Hope here. Eureka Hope has been complaining in the chat already for a little while. I'm going to lay some ground rules right now. If you insult me, you will be blocked immediately. No fucking around, guys.
Same
I
hat.
do not care
Ironic.
about your
Same
feelings
hat.
on this issue. I do not care if you are having some emotions today get the better of you. The mods are encouraged to use the powers of the wrench liberally, because I am not going to give in to the shit show that is about to start. Now, I do not care if you are pro-choice. I do not care if you are pro-life. I will not tolerate people insulting me on this channel when I am trying to articulate points that the right needs to hear and they need to understand. So facts don't care about your feelings, conservatives. If you can't get your shit under control, you don't belong here. You don't have to go home, but you can go somewhere else where you can get your feelings out in the chat all you want. So today, we're going to be talking about the only thing that I think there really is to talk about, which is that Roe versus Wade is getting overturned. Well, probably. And how the right just lost the culture war. And they do not understand. They do not understand what they just did. Now, when this case got brought to the Supreme Court many months ago, some of you will remember that I was screaming bloody murder at the time. And the reason is that I knew that if Roe versus Wade got repealed, that was it. That was the end of the ball game. There is nothing that you could possibly do to motivate the left more and to activate the left more than go after their favorite toy. But because the right just can't help themselves, they did it. They took the bait, and I absolutely do believe it was bait. Someone baited them into it.
Correct.
They took the bait.
Correct.
It went to the Supreme Court. And then yesterday, the draft of the opinion got released. And now all the conservative writers celebrating, oh my God, we won, we won, we won. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You just don't realize it yet.
Correct.
You just don't realize it yet, because sometimes when you win, you actually lose.
Correct.
And I'm going to talk about this, but it doesn't matter if this draft opinion actually ends up being the ultimate opinion that's issued. This is the real bitch of this whole thing, guys, is that it doesn't even matter if this draft opinion is ultimately the one that gets issued by the court, because they've already lost. The Democrats are going to have their largest fundraising week probably in history this week. They will raise more money in the next couple days than they have ever raised before. They are now completely united on this issue. There was a lot of infighting and bickering before on the left. Obviously, the progressives are not happy with the moderates. None of them were happy with Joe Biden, and they were all dicking around with, is Joe Biden going to forgive $10,000 of student debt, or is he going to forgive $50,000 of student debt, or is he going to just forgive all of it? And that's what they were dicking around with. And they were fighting, and there was not agreement, and they couldn't get anything done. But you know what just happened? You just did this to them. You just pushed moderate Democrats and progressives into bed with each other. That is what you just did. My personal opinions on abortion are not even an issue here. So we're going to leave that alone, and we're not going to talk about it.
See,
because this
and this is what this is, and you've seen this in the stream today too. This is what conservatives do all the time. If I explain
a very real political reality, which is if you continue to harp on the abortion issue, then you are going to lose. You are going to lose perpetually. You are going to lose every close election for the rest of your life. This is how they always answer. Do you support the murder of babies? All this means, every time you see stuff like this, every time you see in the chat stuff like this, every time you see stuff like this on Twitter, because my Twitter feed is filled with it today, this is an indication that they are not listening. That they are not listening. And that they do not get it. And this is the most frustrating thing at all. This is the most frustrating thing. I feel like I'm constantly beating my head against the wall saying, Republicans, I'm explaining to you exactly and precisely what you need to do to win elections. And you're not listening. And you're spitting in my face and going, you just want to murder babies. Which is exactly the tone of voice they do it in. Every time, I cannot even express how frustrating this is. It has nothing to do with whether I am pro-life or pro-choice. I care about one thing and one thing only, and that is winning. And I was willing to make compromises with the right in order to win. But the right, hang on, we got a super chat from Elena. Thank you for the super chat. As someone from the UK, I never understood why Roe v. Wade wasn't put into law properly. Plenty of Democrat presidents that could have gotten it done. Personally think it's a big fat trap from the start. It wasn't put into law properly because they wanted to use it to fundraise. That's the beginning and the end of it. The Democrats wanted to use it to fundraise. They, like I said earlier, the Democrats knew at some point Roe v. Wade was going to be overturned. They always knew this. They planned for this. Probably years ago. They used it to fundraise. They used it to turn out their base. They used it to get over any infighting. That was what they did. Everything is a political trap. Was not willing to make any compromises with anyone in order to win. And in fact, the right loves to tell people, if you don't agree with us on 100% of things, then get the fuck out and we don't want your votes anyway. And that's how you lose elections, folks. Do you know what the right did today? They lost Michigan. They lost
Correct?
Iowa.
Pretty sure
they
correct?
lost, oh, Salty Cecil's getting a ban already. Look at that. They lost Michigan. They lost Iowa. They probably lost Wisconsin. They probably lost Georgia.
Wisconsin, yep. Correct.
Stacey Abrams will probably be the next governor of Georgia.
I got that one wrong.
They may have lost Arizona over this.
Oh, man.
Wouldn't it be prophetic if I said maybe they lost Arizona and then Blake Masters doesn't win? So I did get Stacey Abrams wrong. I did. Stacey Abrams is not the new governor of Georgia, and we should all thank God for that. However, what happened in that Senate race? That Senate race is going to a runoff. And we're not talking like Donald Trump style losses where we can bicker around about whether they're really losses or not. These are actual losses. These are losses. And these are losses in the way that you will never get these states back. Let me tell you what, I am deeply connected with people in the walkaway movement. And I'm not talking about the faces of it, although, you know, I'm not talking about Brandon Strzok. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about actual walkaway Democrats. I was the poster fucking child for walkaway Democrats in 2020.
My mic
I know
is so
a lot
loud.
of actual Democrats who left the party in 2020. A lot of them left because of me and because of my story. And we keep in touch and we talk about things and we share what's going on. Let me tell you this. All I've heard for the last almost 24 hours, whatever, 18 hours since this decision came out, and I'm not talking, so the walkaway movement is weird, right? Because the walkaway movement has a lot of conservatives in it. They're not really walkaways. They're just people who support the walkaway movement. We have to be very careful to distinguish between conservatives and actual walkaway Democrats, the people that the right actually gained as voters in 2020 and 2021. I'm gonna make my background among different. The women that the right gained as voters that left the Democratic Party to vote for the right. Universally, every single person I have talked to in the last 24 hours has said exactly the same thing. I will never vote for Republicans again. I can't believe they did this. Correct. And it doesn't matter if the opinion is real or fake, although now we know it's real. There's confirmation that it was real. And it doesn't matter if they turn it back or not. The right has just lost every single mom that left the left to vote for them in 2020 and in 2021. See, and we still have Republicans arguing in the feed right now. Gary, you must have just gotten here because I showed the data earlier that says you're wrong. You can talk about quality. This is another lie. This is another lie that conservative influencers are telling right now. This is another lie that the Daily Wire specifically is trying to sell to people. Why? Because the Daily Wire wants to be able to choose the candidates. Of course, the Daily Wire is telling you guys that the biggest problem that Republicans faced last night was the quality of candidates. No, it was not. It was a factor, but this was decided before any election happened. And the data that we looked at earlier proves that to be true. So you can keep hanging on to these fantasies if you want, but if you hang on to these fantasies, you will lose in 2024 and it will be your own damn fault. And in 2024, we'll be watching this stream where I'm like, how much stuff did I get right 2 years ago when I told the Republicans that if they didn't fucking listen, they were going to get their asses handed to them? We can do the same exercise again and again and again and again and again. But if you guys keep listening to your influencers who lied to you for months and are now doing everything they can to spin this, to give them more power, Lord help you. They have just lost them probably permanently over this issue. If you are not a woman that has been involved with the political left, you do not understand how passionately they care about this issue. You do not understand. I've heard from at least 3 or 4 women that have said something to me like, Carlin, I registered as a Republican in the last year and I hate what the woke left is doing, but I remember when back alley abortions were still a thing. And I don't want to go back to that. So I can't support the Republicans anymore because they did this. And by the way, when I told conservatives that, they said, you're a liar. You're just a leftist. You were never a conservative. You're a Democrat plant. You're trying to trick us. I swear to God. I was like, no, this is real. And they called me every name in the book and said I was just a plant and I was just trying to trick them and I had stupid hair and I was too fat to listen to anyway. And by the way, my email box today is filled with conservative hate mail telling me I'm too fat and to fix my hair. And I'm not joking about that. That is the response I get when I tell conservatives the truth about what happened. You're fat. Go lose weight. Go to the gym. You think that's going to win you in 2024? All right. Best of luck with that. Had won people over. You had elections are won by getting votes. And no, it doesn't matter. It does not matter that this is a state's issue. It does not matter, and we're going to talk about that. That was possibly one of the stupidest excuses of all. Republicans are like, this is going to be a calm conversation about states' rights. No one cared. No one ever cared about having a calm conversation about states' rights, which is what I told you at the time, and you didn't listen, Republicans. Disby, bravo, and thank you to Carlin for taking on Goliath in her race for governor of New Hampshire. Smart, spicy, and fearless. Proud of you. Well, I do appreciate that. I really wish that we had really any resources at all to run an actual race. Now, you guys know that the governor race in New Hampshire, and I said this on multiple streams, it really wasn't a serious thing for me. In terms of we weren't going to put resources or a lot of energy into it because we were focusing on Jeremy's race in the Senate. It was just to have an option on the ballot. I was glad to throw my name up. I was glad to be able to do that. I really, really wish I could have done more, but it was just not in the cards because we were focusing all the attention on Jeremy's race. But I do just want to say thank you to everyone who voted for me. Thank you to everyone who sent me notes of support. I really do appreciate it. I'm never running for office again. Thank you. It does not matter. There is no calm conversation about states' rights in our future. Absolutely not. No, Johnny boy, it is not walkaway Democrats sending nasty emails. It is conservatives. If I had a nickel for every conservative excuse that I had on my streams and in my Twitter today, I would have probably a couple $100. Not. Absolutely not. There is absolutely no calm conversation that is going to be had about, well, this is just a states' rights issue. And guess what, guys? Even if there were to be had about that, you just handed all the political power that you had to the Democrats. Correct. You have lost. You might have a couple of states that you'll retain your political power in, but not the big ones. Correct. And I'm going to tell you this too. If you think that this is going to reduce abortion, you are wrong. Correct. Because the minute that you start outlawing things is the minute that people start wanting them more. Mm-hmm. So you didn't reduce abortion. You didn't save children. You didn't gain anything on the right that they already didn't have. You have lost every close election moving forward. There will never, correct, and I mean never, be another instance again like Glenn Youngkin in Virginia. The only reason that Glenn Youngkin won in Virginia is because moms defected from the Democratic Party to vote for the Republicans because of what is going on with critical race theory in schools. That is done. You totally fucked. And by you, I mean the people that did this. The Republicans that pushed this, the Republicans that are cheering this, the Republicans that baited this entire thing. I'm not necessarily referring to individuals in the chat right now. You've probably set back the fight against critical race theory, immeasurably. Oh, God. We have lost. This is a whole other conversation. And I'm probably going to elaborate in this stream. Do you guys know that when the Roe decision came down, that completely fucked efforts in the schools? It completely destroyed activism on the right around what was going on in the schools. Because one of the things that was critical towards getting parents to wake up to what was going on in the schools was that we had to wake up Democrats. And we were waking up Democrats. There were absolutely Democrats who were waking up and defecting from the Democratic Party because of what was going on in the schools. We know that because of Glenn Youngkin in Virginia. When this draft decision came out, all of that went away. It was over. Everything became about abortion. There was no more waking up people on the right. It destroyed activism on every other issue. I cannot even begin to express how bad this was. And continues to be today, by the way. That's what happens when you don't pick your battles. You have to think out the long game. You guys were so obsessed with saving babies. You didn't actually save. that you destroyed activism on the issues that would have actually enticed the Democrats to leave the Democratic Party and possibly vote Republican. That's reality. Everyone that we were able to wake up on the left, every woman, because of this issue.
True. Correct.
There will be no rationalization. There will be no calm discussion.
Correct.
There will be, okay, this is, guys, and as a reminder for people who just joined, the minute that you insult me in the chat for telling you the truth that your influencers don't want to tell you is the minute that you get blocked and you can go fuck around on some conservative chat where you can re all the way home.
Correct.
I have worked for 2 fucking years to fight back against the woke left. And this has just wiped out everything. It has wiped out everything. Because no elections are going to be won on anything but this. On anything. Heather says they didn't pass the draft. It was a draft that was being debated. There is no confirmation it was passed. It doesn't matter, Heather. It doesn't matter.
Correct.
Too late. It does not matter. They can come out with a completely different decision. And the rallying cry on the left will be like, they almost repealed Roe. We can never allow this to happen again. And you know what they're going to do? You know what they're going to do? Here's what's going to happen. The midterms are now completely up in the air. I think the very best that the Republicans can hope for in the midterms is they eke out a victory in the House.
Correct.
They ain't winning the Senate. Senate is gone.
Correct.
That's gone.
They haven't won the Senate yet.
The House may be gone. We're going to have to see how it goes. But it is not going to be a red wave anymore. It could have been.
Correct.
Not anymore. You just activated the entire left.
Mm-hmm.
You activated all their fundraising apparatus. They are now completely in lockstep. There is no red wave coming in November, and people need to be prepared for that.
Correct.
So you're going to get no red wave in November. But let me tell you what happens leading up to November. They're going to try to codify law, and if you think they're going to try to codify reasonable abortion, which I think is 3 months with exceptions for assault and health of the mother. They're not going to codify some reasonable abortion law that
Correct.
we could all kind of compromise on. They're going to try to go for the full board. They're going to try to codify abortion on demand up to birth into federal law. That they're going to try to do that before November. I already know that because they're already calling for it, and I'm going to show you evidence of that.
Mm-hmm.
So abortion is going to become federal law. In every state
That's
that the
not
Democrats
correct
control
yet.
the government in, abortion is also going to be codified in state law.
That was correct.
So there ain't nothing you can do. So what I got wrong is the Democrats were unable to codify Roe into law. What they did instead was they introduced a bill that would have been impossible to codify into law at the federal level because they wanted to use it for fundraising and to gear up their base leading into November. But what they also did is it is now being codified into law on the state level. I was right about that. Michigan is a great example of that. Michigan last night voted to make abortion, like the right to an abortion, the law. Vermont last night, did you guys know this? Vermont last night became the first state to put the right to an abortion in their state constitution. So I was absolutely correct about what they do on the state level. About it, you gained nothing. What else are they going to do? Because it's not just about fixing the problem with Democrats. They're now going to enact retribution. Now, John says, have you ever been wrong on issues like this? No, John. Actually, no. In the last 2 years, every single time I have delivered conservatives this type of news where I'm telling them something they don't want to hear, I have ultimately been proven 100% correct.
And that seems to be, I mean, I'm maybe not 100% correct on everything I said, but I'm a good 90% correct right now. Let me check in the chat. How do you think I'm doing so far on the predictions that I made in May? And this is, again, like, this is a very typical conservative reaction. They're like, you never think you're wrong. You can't take feedback from people. You always think that you're right. You never listen to us. No, well, if Michigan put it in their constitution, Vermont did too. Vermont 100% put it in their constitution. If Michigan did it too, So it looks like I was right on a lot of what I said. I am a election prophet. Because I told you this shit was going to happen 6 months ago. There has not been one single thing like this in the last 2 years that I have predicted that I have been wrong about. Not one single thing. If you want to go back and try to find an example of when I've been wrong, you are more than welcome to do that. So it's going to get codified in law. But here's what else is going to happen. Democrats are going to try to pack the Supreme Court because they're going to be like, this can never happen again. So they're going to go back to packing the court, which is something that they had let go of. If you think they aren't going to try to pressure Manchin and Sinema into getting rid of the filibuster, you're wrong about that.
They did try to do that.
Kristen Sinema bends.
I was wrong about that.
Joe Manchin ultimately does too.
I was wrong about that.
If Kristen Sinema bends, Joe Manchin is bending too, and then there goes filibuster. They are going to try to get rid of the Electoral College. You guys had better pray that Republicans take the majority in the Senate, even by 1 or 2 seats. You had better pray that happens. Because that's going to be the saving grace for the next 2 years. They are going to do every crazy thing that you can possibly imagine, and they're going to try to do it before November because they have all the power. Every crazy thing that you can possibly imagine the Democrats are doing, they are going to do. Oh, guess what? There'll be riots too. Oh, there's going to be riots all summer.
Correct.
We are in for another summer of shit show. And that was
it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, but I was correct.
Because they just couldn't help themselves. They just couldn't help themselves. The work of so many people and so many activists just got wiped out in an instant because the right couldn't just leave it alone.
Correct.
They couldn't try to change culture. They couldn't try to change hearts and minds. They had to change legislation. And now they have changed absolutely zero hearts and minds, and they've just made things worse. There will be more abortions because of this. There will be more abortions because of this. Not in spite of this, because of this. So we're going to read this article. But before we read that, I want to start going through some of my Twitter for the last day, because Twitter is like my notebook, and it is where I collect my thoughts, and it is where I post things that I think we need to talk about. Actually, no, let's read the article first because we probably should. It's probably the responsible thing to do. Nope, it's going to become legislation. It's going to become legislation. Guys, every single talking point you have, I know it. Every single talking point you have, I already know it. You're going to say, well, it's not legislation. Well, it's going to become legislation.
It did.
That's definitely going to happen now. They're already calling for it.
Correct.
You're going to say, this is a states' rights issue. And I'm going to say, it doesn't fucking matter. That's not how politics works.
Correct.
And you just lost a whole bunch of states. You're going to say, well, women just want to kill babies that much? I can't believe that many women want to kill babies. It's not about that. It's not about that. It's not about that at all. It's about the fact that you fucked with the one thing that you shouldn't have fucked with.
True.
And now it will destroy everything. This is conservatives snatching defeat from the jaws of victory yet again.
True.
I have never seen such epic self-sabotage in my entire life. In my entire life. And you guys can wish upon a star and hope that this is going to be a calm conversation about states' rights, and then you can come back and check in with me in a couple of months when we've been living through riots, and all of a sudden Democrats are raising a metric fuck ton of money.
Correct.
And all of a sudden their poll numbers are starting to go up. And it doesn't matter who leaked it. This is the other thing you guys are going to say. Well, it was leaked. It was leaked. This is disrupting norms of the court. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. None of that matters. And actually, conservatives right now are trying to dox people that they think leaked it, even though they have no evidence.
Oh, God, I forgot about that.
Have I had a chance to read the full opinion? No. We're going to read this article. I have sections of the opinion that I want to talk about. Nope, it's not. This is the other thing. You're being so dramatic. Oh my God.
Was I dramatic?
No, you guys just lost. Yep.
You guys lost every close election for the rest of your life.
I am a prophet.
Every close election for the rest of your life because you do not understand how the left feels about this issue because you will not listen.
True.
I'm the most consistent bitch on this platform. From Politica. Supreme Court has voted to overturn abortion rights. Draft opinion shows. Hang on, I just need to get it situated on my screen real quick. Just make sure it's big enough. Okay, the Supreme Court has voted to strike down the landmark Roe v. Wade decision according to an initial draft majority opinion written by Justice Samuel Alito, circulated inside the court and obtained by Politico. The draft opinion is a full-throated, unflinching repudiation of the 1973 decision, which granted federal constitutional protections of abortion rights, and a subsequent 1992 decision, Planned Parenthood versus Casey, that largely maintained that right. Roe was egregiously wrong from the start, Alito writes. We hold that Roe and Casey must be overturned, he writes in the document labeled as the opinion of the court. It is time to heed the Constitution and return the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives. Oh, wishful thinking. Wishful thinking, conservatives. Deliberations on controversial cases have been in the past fluid. Justices can do some major changes, blah, blah, blah. I want to get into, you know what I actually want to look at? I don't want to read this whole article. Where did Politico, hang on, let me just pull this down real quick. What I actually want to look at is I want to look at Politico's Twitter on this. Because they actually had some quotes pulled out that I think are going to be helpful for us. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Found it.
I hate watching myself on video.
Here are 4 key passages in the draft opinion. We hold that Roe and Casey must be overturned. The Constitution makes no reference to abortion, and no such right is implicitly protected by any constitutional provision. Roe was egregiously wrong from the start. Its reasoning was exceptionally weak, and the decision has had damaging consequences. And far from bringing about a national settlement of the abortion issue, Roe and Casey have inflamed debate and deepened division. Oh, you want to talk about deepening division? You want to talk about deepening division, Samuel Alito? Okay. Okay. They're going to be rioting outside of his house, don't you? Just
True. True.
Talk about deepening division.
They've been rioting outside of Amy Coney Barrett's house for months.
The Constitution and return the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives. The inescapable conclusion is that a right to abortion is not deeply rooted in the nation's history and traditions. On the contrary, an unbroken tradition of prohibiting abortion on pain of criminal punishment persists from the earliest days of common law until 1973. All right, so we're now going to be punishing women for having medical procedures. Oh, great. This is sure to get them voting on our team.
Uh-huh.
Sure to happen. Oh, wait, hang on. We can only... Hang on, are you serious? Biden is now considering Elon Musk a threat to national security? Side note, if you ever had any question on if Twitter prior to Musk was colluding with the government, then the fact that Joe Biden considers Elon Musk a threat to national security should answer any questions you have about whether or not Twitter was colluding with the government to violate people's First Amendment rights. Only do our job, which is to interpret the law, apply longstanding principles of stare decisis, and decide the case accordingly. We therefore hold the Constitution does not confer a right to abortion. Roe and Casey must be overturned, and the authority to regulate abortion must be returned to the people and their elected representatives. The decision itself is not the problem. The reaction is the problem. The politics are the problem, correct? And the fact of the matter is that conservatives have not yet figured out that they are not in the power position. They do not play by the same rules that the left does, correct? And they will be paying
for this for decades.
Correct. Well, at least
They
for a
will
couple
be
months.
paying for this action for decades. For the amount of talk of 4D chess that I heard in 2020 about how great Trump was at 4D chess.
I gotta
It
adjust
seems
my
that
mic, man. I'm
conservatives
like
never even
breathing
learned
heavy
how
into
to
the
play
microphone.
checkers. It seemed they never learned how to anticipate
I didn't
moves
realize how much of my breath
ahead.
you guys could hear.
All they got was the instant gratification of putting the king on their checker and then immediately getting jumped in the very next turn.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
So you can celebrate if you like this decision all you want. But you're not going to be celebrating for long because you just lost the war. You were so focused on this one battle that you lost the war by winning this battle. Do you guys have any idea how hard it is going to be to wake people up on the left now? Do you have any idea how hard it is going to be to wake women up on the left? And I'm sorry, if you are a man and you are especially a conservative man, you do not understand. You do. Well, congratulations, Morgan. They're going to keep dealing with it because this is going to create more abortions, not less. The abortion rate is going to go up in this country. You know how I know? Because every time you idiots try to ban something, you make people want it more.
I want to talk about this for a second.
The right doesn't really care about saving babies. Can we just be honest about this for good? The right does not really care about saving babies. If the right really cared about saving babies, then what the right would do is to focus on cultural issues and influencing culture to go back to abortion being safe, legal, and rare. Legislating this issue was never, ever, 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 ever going to save babies. It was never about saving babies. It was only about winning on this issue. That's what the right really cared about. If they really want to save babies, they need to focus on changing culture. They're not focused on changing culture because they are not interested in saving babies. You know, there were Republican, like elected Republicans in New Hampshire last night who were talking about this. This is not what they're saying publicly. This is what they're saying privately. They're already talking about the fact that this is going to make it much harder for them to run. Oh, that's true. They know what's coming. That's true. So what I just said there is that elected Republicans in New Hampshire were talking about how this was going to make their race harder in November. Guess what? Elected Republicans in New Hampshire got routed last night. They got routed because of this issue. Because again, the Democrats have been using that massive war chest that they fundraised off of Roe v. Wade to run ads in New Hampshire about abortion for months, every single day for months on end. And Republicans in New Hampshire got routed last night because of those ads. Now, don't get it twisted. We're going to be fine in New Hampshire. We actually fared a lot better than a lot of places. The fact is that things are going to remain pretty status quo for a couple of years in New Hampshire. We do still have a Republican governor, rhino that he is, and he is a rhino. But he is going to protect us from any insane inclinations that Democrats might have. We also still have a Republican-controlled Senate in New Hampshire, and I think we have a Republican-controlled Executive Council in New Hampshire, which the Executive Council in New Hampshire is basically like, it's like the lieutenant governor, except it's a council instead of like a single person. So we're going to be fine in New Hampshire. This is part of like why I'm not really worried about it. But elected Republicans in New Hampshire had a really difficult election last night. And that's the truth. And it was partially because of this issue. They may not be talking about it up front. They know what's coming. So I want to go through my Twitter and I want to talk about some of my thoughts. Oh, we got a statement from Biden. Biden has his thoughts here. Hang on, we should probably read this before I even get into my thoughts. So Biden has issued an opinion. He says, we do not know if the draft is genuine. Well, that's not true. Actually, let's read this opinion first. Let's read this first because this is a statement from John Roberts. And the reason I want to read this first is because John Roberts just confirmed that the draft is real. So anyone who is under any misconception that that the draft is not real, the draft is real. They've confirmed it. Yesterday, a news organization published a copy of a draft opinion in a pending case. Justices circulate draft opinions internally as a routine and essential part of the court's confidential deliberative work. Although the document described in yesterday's reports is authentic, it does not represent a decision by the court or a final position of any member on the issues of the case. It doesn't matter if this ends up being the final opinion or not. It does not matter. And it does not matter. I do not give a flying fuck what Tom Woods has to say about this.
Oh, I argued with Richard last night too.
I do not give a flying fuck about the correctness of this law or the ability of states' rights to decide. I do not care about any of that because what you guys do not understand is all of that doesn't matter.
Correct.
Because the left is going to make it impossible for us to function.
Correct.
Sometimes you have to accept good enough in the face of perfection.
Correct.
Sometimes you have to let things be. Because you know, if you poke the bear is going to fucking maul you.
Correct.
I don't care whether it's right or wrong that the bear was sitting on my back deck. I care that I'm not mauled by the fucking bear, and if that involves me not being on my back deck while the bear has decided to sit there for a minute, then I'm going to stay the fuck away. Because I care about winning more than I do about getting my way.
Oh, God, that was a really good analogy.
Rooney, get the government out of it between a patient and a doctor. On that, I agree. The libertarians are already talking about how they're going to completely remove the abortion plank from their platform.
That ended up happening
at our convention later this month. They're already talking about completely removing it entirely. The Libertarian Party will be the only party with no position on abortion so that everyone on both sides can be welcomed in, because that is the only way to function. If you don't want an abortion, don't get a fucking abortion. It's really that simple.
Mm-hmm.
But no, you guys had to fuck around. You had to fuck around, and you're about to now find out. So
Correct.
We do know that this is we do know that this is authentic. Now let's hear what Biden has to say about it. With that critical caveat, I want to be clear on 3 points about the case before the Supreme Court. First, my administration argued strongly before the court in defense of Roe versus Wade. We said Roe is based on a long line of precedent reorganizing the 14th Amendment concept of personal liberties against government interference with intensely personal decisions. I believe that a woman's right to choose is fundamental. Roe has been the law of the land for almost 50 years, and basic fairness and the stability of our law demand that it not be overturned. Second, shortly after the enactment of the Texas Law SB 8 and other laws restricting women's reproductive rights, I directed my Gender Policy Council and White House Counsel's Office to prepare options for the administration's response to the continued attack on abortion and reproductive rights under a variety of possible outcomes in the cases pending before the Supreme Court. We will be ready when any ruling is issued. Third, if the court does overturn Roe, it will fall on the nation's elected officials at all levels of government.
Thank you, Tommy. I appreciate it.
It will fall on voters to elect pro-choice officials this November. At the federal level, we will need more pro-choice senators and pro-choice majority in the House to adopt legislation that codifies Roe, which I will work to pass and sign into law. So there we have it. They're going to codify it now, and you won nothing. You won nothing, except you really pissed them off, and you're about to get mauled by the fucking bear. Ty says, conservatives love to gaslight so much. Punishing Disney was about leveling the playing field. Roe is about states' rights, which they would at least be direct that they want religious rule over the United States. Well, they're actually starting to be more direct than you'll see. I've got some examples of that. Lost every single God.
I gotta turn down my mic. I'm turning down my mic.
Let me go through some of my tweets, and I will.
That's
talk
my
you
lesson
through my
from this. I need to turn down my mic. I don't want you guys to hear me breathing and swallowing.
Here's my first one. The right is naive enough to believe that overturning Roe versus Wade will attract new voters without realizing that everyone who's already pro-life was already voting for
That's
them
my
anyway.
big lesson of the day.
Every woman who defected to vote for Youngkin in Virginia is gone. November is now a toss-up.
True.
You guys had a sure thing in November. Sure
Correct.
thing. Red wave. No more. Cleveland Streamer says, SCOTUS said go vote. Well, there you have it. Well, yeah, and they're going to, and you're going to lose. You're going to lose. More epically than you have ever imagined in your life.
Have they called Lauren Boebart's race yet? Has Lauren Boebert lost yet? You guys are living in a reality where Lauren Boebert is going to lose? It's because of abortion.
All the work of every anti-CRT activist just got tossed out the window because any mother who we ever got to defect from the left will never support the right now.
True.
Every inch we've gained is gone. There will never be another victory like Virginia again. I now believe that the only way to fight back against critical race theory is at the hyper-local level.
True.
There is no more fighting this at the state level.
And by the way,
it has to be at the hyper-local level.
The hyper-local level strategy that I started wrapping my head around when I did this is what directly led to Schools Exposed. If you guys don't know what Schools Exposed is, you can find the link in the description below. I'm working on building a program to train 10,000 parents how to keep an eye on what's going on in their schools and what you need to look out for and how you use publicly available information to find out what the schools are teaching your kids. That initiative started to formulate in my head when I realized that Republicans had completely screwed the pooch with this abortion bullshit. And I was like, the only way I'm going to be able to function and to be able to create change is to focus on a hyper local level. And so I decided to focus on training parents directly how to find out what's going on in their local school districts to get around this issue that Republicans created by going after abortion, with parents involving themselves in the schools. Because this is about to fuck up a lot of state governments. This is not just about the federal election in November. This is not just about Congress and the House of Representatives and Senate. This is going to fuck up every single red state. If you think that this is not going to mobilize the left on a local level, when you're saying, this is just about states' rights, this is just about states' rights. Well, guess what? They're going to go elect people at the state level. And I will tell you 100% that Democrats are significantly better at organizing in every single state of this country than Republicans. True.
Because Republicans right now, and I can see it in the chat, it is not my job to smooth anything over. I think that what you guys did is abominable.
We'll get back to that in a second. I want to help your initiative. Need help? Yeah, sure, Sandra. Send me a note. Send me a note to Carlin at activelyunwoke.com and we can do that. I got to work on my audio. I don't know what I'm doing. I just plug things in and it sounds fine to me in my headphones, and then I hear myself in my headphones and I'm like, "Oh my god."
I'm not smoothing over shit.
Yeah,
I will never vote for another Republican again.
Look at this. Look at this shit. Conservatives were blaming me for making the issue worse, for telling them the truth. I was making the issue worse because I pointed out the absolute inevitability of this coming back to bite you in November, back in May, and I'm the fucking problem. This is the mentality of conservatives, I swear to God. Colorado, 96% in, and Boebert is down by 62 votes. That's funny, man. That's funny.
Whether she wins or loses, man, that is not that it should not be that close. On that list of women who walked away from the Democratic Party in 2020, voted Republican for the first time, I will never vote for another Republican again. Never. It won't happen. Absolutely not. So no, it's not my job to smooth it over. You guys made this mess. You smooth it over. And they didn't, because they didn't listen. Beatrice, if you don't need me, then I can block you. Goodbye. Guys, as a reminder, if you insult me in my chat, I can say whatever the fuck I want. This is my channel. You insult me? Bye-bye. Go whine on a conservative channel.
Same rules.
Because you know what? You guys just destroyed my work for the last 2 years by doing this. You just destroyed my work for the last 2 years. You have no idea how much harder this makes it. The one priority that we all should have had was waking up more people on the left. And now not only is it fucking impossible to wake up more people on the left, we aren't even going to be able to fucking rally anything.
True.
Erica says, can you please explain why some do not understand the difference between pro-choice and pro-abortion? The reason that some do not understand the difference between pro-choice and pro-abortion is because they are being willfully ignorant and pulling the wool over their eyes, and they are more interested in insulting people they disagree with than understanding their arguments.
True.
I've never had an abortion. I don't like abortion. But I am not going to be pro-life at all. In any way, because I think women who have been assaulted should have a choice. And the right can't wrap their heads around that. I get called a baby killer 19 ways from Sunday when I've never had an abortion, and that's another reason why you lose. That is another reason why the right loses. I have been called a baby killer probably at least 100 times today. I've never had an abortion. But that doesn't matter. What matters is insulting people who disagree with us. And the right refuses to listen. Baby's greater than votes. And this is another reason why the right will never win again. Because I have been told 19 ways from Sunday in the past, 20 hours that we don't care about winning elections. All we care about is babies. That's all we care about. We don't care about winning elections. Go away, you loser. Go back to the left. We don't care about winning elections. Okay, congratulations. Then you're going to lose every major election for the rest of your life.
Nothing has changed, by the way. Nothing has changed.
Every election.
Nothing.
Abortion will be made federal law. It will not be reasonable abortion. It will be abortion up to, possibly after birth. And it'll be codified into federal law because you don't care about winning elections. Congratulations. Congratulations.
How did that work out, conservatives? How did that work out for you? All of those times you said, we don't care about your votes. We don't care about winning elections. How are you feeling about that position today? I'm honestly curious. For any conservatives in the chat who are brave enough to speak up, I promise I will not make fun of you. How do you feel about today going for the last 6 months, but honestly longer than that, telling people we don't care about your votes, we don't care about winning elections? How do people feel about that position today? Does anyone want to take a stab at it? Let me know in the chat. I hope someone's brave enough to speak up. I'm just going to give it a pause here for a quick second. How does it feel today, conservatives, to know that 6 months ago, when I was telling you guys everything that I've told you today, the answer was, we don't care if we win elections. It's about saving babies. We don't want your votes. We only care about saving babies. How does it feel now? I don't see anyone speaking up. Let me see if anything's going on. Let me see if anything's going on. Where's my mouse? On my other platforms. Odyssey, any thoughts there, Odyssey? No. Rockfin, no thoughts there. Oh, on Rumble, the only thing is the media tricked your friends. That's the only comment on Rumble.
The reason that Republicans lost is because the media tricked my friends because the person on Rumble thinks I'm a Democrat. Fucking pissed. Yeah, you should be pissed. You should be pissed. Absolutely. Yeah, abortion and what? Democracy won. Thank you, Patrick. God. Kyle says it's a shot to the gut. At the same time, the further we get from the Dobbs decision, the less of an impact it will make. Oh, Kyle. Kyle. You need to hinge back into reality, Kyle. This is not going away. This will not go away with time. This is the Democrats' #1 fundraising issue. They have just learned that they can harp on this issue to raise as much money as they want and to win every election moving forward. They now know how to organize on college campuses around this issue to get massive youth voter turnout. This is not going to go away, Kyle. If you stick your head in the sand and pretend it's going to go away, you are going to lose in 2024 and Joe Biden will be reelected to the White House. Do you want that to happen? If you do not want that to happen, you need to face reality. Reality needs to come back into the picture. All is well says they want to save the babies in the mother's wombs. What about paying to raise the baby once he or she is outside the womb? I think that that's a very good question, all is well. There are conservative organizations that help mothers financially, and I think that that's a good idea. I think that if the only reason that someone is getting an abortion is financial, it is a good idea for conservatives to start organizations and foundations to help those mothers so that they don't have an abortion just because they don't think they're going to have the money to raise their kid. And there are organizations that exist like that, and I wish that conservatives did a better job of promoting those. Let me see if there are any other thoughts in the chat. Jason says, we are looking at the fruits of people reading a horrific holy book, aka the Bible. I mean, I think people should be able to worship in whatever way they see fit. The problem is that conservatives try to legislate their morality onto everyone else. Kyle, this is not true. Someone needs to be honest with you and tell you this is not true. I'm sure you're saying this because you've heard this from your influencers today, because conservative influencers are continuing to lie to their audience. This is not true. This is not true in any way. If you believe this is true, you are going to lose. Come back in 2 years and let's see how it goes. Seamus made a cake for the end of Roe, and while smiling and celebrating, he called for abortion to be illegal nationwide. Disgusting, misogynist, homophobic, zealot. Yes, and these are the people that conservatives lift up, and you wonder why everyone hates you guys. All right, let's keep going. Oh, Julie. Julie, so I watched the results come in and wondered if conservatives will learn from their mistake. Listening to this stream, I realized they won't. Probably not. Conservatives will not listen they will not learn anything until the base forces them to learn. And right now, the base is being lied to by their influencers. And then when people like me tell their base the truth, they and call me a Democrat and insult my weight and all that stuff. And then they run right back to their influencers. And they get the sweet nothings whispered in their ears, and they're like, oh, I'm hearing the things I want to hear. Everything's going to be okay. My influencers would never lie to me except when they did. The influencers will change when the base changes, not before. You want to know why you don't take the morning after pill after you're raped? Because you can barely get out of bed the morning after you're raped. And I speak this from experience. You want to know why you don't just skip down to the CVS and take the morning after pill after you're raped?
There's another stupid argument.
Barely stand.
There's another
you
stupid
can barely
argument.
Function. And if you don't believe me, then why don't you get someone to bend you over right now and fuck you with a broomstick against your will, and you see how you feel about skipping down to the CVS?
True.
That's why.
True. This is possibly one of the stupidest arguments that conservatives make about abortion. If you're raped, just go take the morning after pill. You don't need abortion if you're raped. Just skip right down to the pharmacy and get the morning after pill. Most women who are raped do not report it to the police. When I was raped, I didn't even realize what happened. I was in a daze for days. I didn't even fully comprehend what happened. I didn't go to the police because I didn't think anyone would believe me. And as it turns out, when I finally told people 3 months later, because I was massively depressed, they didn't believe me. And by the way, the morning after pill wasn't even a thing then. Or maybe it had just come out or something like that. It was relatively new it was a relatively new thing and you needed a prescription for it. And so I didn't get the morning after pill either. I had to cross my fingers and hope. Conservatives say this stuff willy-nilly. They repeat it on a script. I cannot tell you how many times I've had this said to me. Well, Carlin, why didn't you just get the morning after pill? Because it doesn't work like that. And telling people to do that makes you look like a heartless asshole that is completely unworthy of any support. Conservatives don't like to hear that either. Conservatives also like to say, well, no one ever gets pregnant from being raped, which is actually provably untrue. They like to say, well, women who are raped always end up regretting their abortions. No, they don't. That's not true. They like to say, if it protects one life, then it's worth making a woman a human incubator. Nope. Nope. You lose again. You lose again. Cleveland streamer, people get very angry when you take away their rights away. And as a AMAAB, I want my assigned male at birth. Yeah, I mean, this isn't even about that though. I didn't know what that meant at the time. I was like, okay. Oh, it's a tiny percentage of overall abortion, so it must be okay for the right to demand that women be human incubators. Because just a small percentage of human incubators, if it's just 1 or 2 women that we strap to a gurney and force them to give birth, then that's okay because it's just a couple. What's a onesie and a twosie when it comes to babies? I was right on that. It's a bad argument. Really bad argument. You lose. This is why you lose, and you deserve to lose. Because you don't listen. And you are completely unwilling to engage in any Good to have you here, Robin. Completely unwilling to be rational human beings. You just want to scream, baby killer, 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 at everyone who disagrees with you and not listen. And now you've lost every major election for the rest of your life because of it. Congrats. Let's keep going. I saw this message on Twitter and I reposted it because this is what I'm seeing as well. Dan here says, I'm watching moderate moms on a text thread completely bail on Republicans this morning after years of being pushed further and further right. Democrats were literally committing, I don't know what that word is, like Harry Carey maybe, and with wildly unpopular policies, and Republicans took the blade away and stabbed themselves instead. Oh, what a pathetic tweet. That's what my direct messages look like all night. I woke up this morning with a metric fuck ton of direct messages from activists, from like legit activists that walked away from the left over the past 2 years because they were pissed off about what the left did with the pandemic. They were pissed off. Hey, Charlotte, I'm too emotional. You're too blocked. Goodbye. They were pissed off
with the mandatory vaccines. They were pissed off with the authoritarianism, and they left the left because of it. And now they're texting me because, again, we all talk, and they're saying, this is fucked up. I'm out. Goodbye. Never again. My DMs are full with it. True. The right has no idea what they did. No idea what they activated. And no idea what they lost. Announcing your departure, Kinky Pinkies. Goodbye. I warned you guys at the outset I was going to block people today. And I knew I would. Because the right can't help themselves. They cannot help themselves. And this is how this mess occurred. Because what they do is they it was a bad law. I'm overreacting. No, I'm not, dude. No, I'm not. Go get fucked.
True.
Literally, go get fucked and then skip down to the CVS and tell me how good it was to go get fucked against your will and then skip down to the CVS for that morning after pill. True. You all do not understand how serious this is. You do not understand. Let's keep going. So I've been hearing this one a lot. Will it matter that it sends it back to the states? No. No. It will not matter in any way that this will be sent back to the states because no one cares. True. No one cares. I turned out to be correct about that. There is no calm conversation about states' rights. There will be riots until November. They are going to pack the court. They're going to eliminate the filibuster. They're going to codify abortion into law. They're going to try to get rid of the Electoral College. They're going to forgive student loans, by the way. That's another thing that's coming.
True.
Yes. True. I was right about that student loan stuff. Now, some of my predictions haven't played out yet. But don't you think for one red second, just because they haven't tried to pack the court yet, they have been strategizing on packing the court ever since this happened. Just because they haven't done it yet, I'm not saying that's wrong yet, because I still think that could happen. I still think they're going to go after the Electoral College. They are codifying Roe in law into law at the state level. So I'm not giving up on some of these predictions yet. And they're going to do all of this before November, or they're going to damn well try, because they know they could lose power in November, although I think they're sitting a little bit more easy today because they're about to bring in their biggest fundraising haul that they've ever had in their lives. Correct. And Republicans will still end up losing. Correct. What was once a red wave is now perhaps a trickle at best. Correct. Best I said that in May. I said it was going to be a red trickle in May. Correct. And you lost every single new voter. Correct. Every single new voter that you gained. Every single one. Gone. Never returning. Congratulations. Katie Pavlich says, Biden this morning, at a federal level, we need more pro-choice senators and a pro-choice majority in the House. We read his statement earlier. It's not the only one saying stuff like that. Bernie Sanders. Congress must pass legislation that codifies Roe v. Wade as the law of the land in the country now. And if there aren't 60 votes in the Senate to do it, and there are not, we must end the filibuster to pass it with 50. And they will do it. They didn't. That I got wrong. This is an issue that Kristen Sinema will bend on. Watch it. This is an issue that they will. So that almost happened. That was very close to happening. They were trying to eliminate the filibuster for like very specific issues. They didn't end up doing it. Kristen Sinema didn't end up bending. God love Kristen Sinema for not bending on this issue. Y'all should be thanking your lucky stars that Kristen Sinema is a badass bitch. You might not like her politics, but that woman is strong and she doesn't take shit. And you should all be thanking your lucky stars that she was in that position, because you might not like that she's a Democrat, but she stood up for what was right and she said no. If not for Kristen Sinema, they would have gotten rid of the filibuster. We'll bend on. And if Kristen Sinema bends, Joe Manchin's going too. You thought the pressure was there for Build Back Better? Oh, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. The pressure that is going to be put on the two of them over this issue is going to be 1,000 times more than they experienced over the infrastructure bill. Every level of the Democratic Party is going to be coming down on them incessantly, nonstop, every day until they get in. And you know what was the deal with the Build Back Better bill? Is that Joe Manchin had cover because there were other Democrats that were not in favor of that infrastructure bill at all, but they couldn't say it publicly. And so what happened was Joe Manchin, because he's in a red state, took the bullet for all of them. Joe Manchin took the bullet for all these other Democratic senators that were not in favor of this infrastructure bill by saying, I'll do it because I don't suffer electoral consequences. That just went up in smoke. Joe Manchin doesn't have that backup anymore. That's not there. It won't be there at all. So you think it's going to be enough for him to stand up to the pressure this time? Nope. Nope. He's going to cave. Watch it.
I was wrong about
cave.
that. Joe Manchin did not cave.
And he'll make some excuse like, oh, men shouldn't talk about this stuff because that's what he'll be told to do. David says the problem is the right has its own echo chambers, even though they can see where echo chambers have taken the left. They don't listen.
Oh, God, that was a really good point.
They don't listen.
That was actually a really, really great point because I think that most of the problem is stemming right now from the fact that the right doesn't listen to anyone that doesn't tell them what they want to hear. I cannot tell you how many replies I get on Twitter when I say something that the right finds politically inconvenient. I cannot tell you how many replies I get saying, I have followed every tweet that you've ever written, and I agree with you most of the time. But this disagreement, I just can't. I have to unfollow you. It happens all the time. It happens all the time on comments on YouTube as well. Anytime I do a stream like this, I have watched every video that you've ever done, and I am been a big fan of your content, and I've agreed with so much of what you said, but this video is just a step too far, and I have to unsubscribe. I get dozens of those a day. The left is not the only one existing in an echo chamber. The right is existing in an echo chamber as well. Because the right, if someone does not tell them exactly and explicitly what they want to hear to make them feel good, they unfollow them and they stop listening. And then they go find someone who's going to whisper sweet nothings in their ear, which is how all your conservative influencers lied to you about what the impact of this decision would be. Because remember, guys, your conservative influencers are entertainers. They're entertainers and grifters. There's a difference between entertainers and grifters. Entertainers, I think, believe the things that they say, but they're saying the things that they believe in order to make money and get clicks and likes and subscribes and make their audience bigger. Grifters are a little bit different because grifters will say literally whatever they need to, regardless of whether or not they actually believe the things that they're saying. They will say anything they need to in order to build an audience. Influencers on the conservative right are either entertainers or they are grifters. There are very few exceptions to this. Andy No, I would say, is an exception to this. Andy No is an exceptional journalist and has told really hard stories that no one else wants to tell. But the rest of them, almost all of them, and if you guys ask me a specific name, I will tell you what I think on the issue, but I can't think of any other convenient names off the top of my head. Every other conservative influencer that I can think of right now is either an entertainer or a grifter. That means that their priority is not going to be on telling you the truth. Their priority is going to be on telling you what you want to hear in order to make you feel good. They want to make you feel good so that you pay them money and share their content.
They are not going to tell you things that do not make you feel good. I'm a little bit different because I never cared about being a conservative influencer or content creator. I'm an activist. I very, very purposefully call myself an activist because I don't care about building a mass audience. I care about eliciting change in the world. And so I will tell you the truth when you need to hear the truth. I will tell you the uncomfortable things that will make you go, I can't believe you're not the person that I once followed and I have to unsubscribe. I will tell you the truth because I don't care what your feelings are about it. My priority is on telling the truth authentically and in actually making change. But what you need to hear is that 95% of conservative content creators on YouTube will lie to your face to make you feel good so that you subscribe to their channel and share their content and buy their products. The vast majority of conservative influencers will say whatever they need to get you to stay in their audience, watch their content, support them financially, and all of the rest. Glenn Beck would be another exception to this. I would say Glenn Beck is an exception. I think that Glenn Beck already has more money than God. He has already reached the pinnacle, so he doesn't need to engage in this nonsense. Glenn Beck is, I think, one of the true ones. He puts his money where his mouth is. So you guys really need to keep this in mind. Anyone who tells you there was a red wave last night is lying to you. Anyone who tells you that abortion did not make a difference last night is lying to you. Anyone who tells you that this was the result of Trump is lying to you. Anyone who told you for months and months and months abortion wasn't going to make a difference, they are lying to you. Now, it is a free country. So you can listen to whoever you want and you can follow whoever you want. But I don't understand why you guys insist on gravitating to people who will lie to you. But that's your choice. You got to make it. At all. Here we have Brian saying, oh, when we expand the court, this will be why. They'd given up on packing the Supreme Court. They didn't have the votes to do it. Now they have been given every excuse they need to say, well, we just need to pack the court. That will solve everything. That's the end of the country, folks. That's it. And here we have Elizabeth Warren. An extremist Supreme Court is poised to overturn Roe v. Wade and impose its far-right, unpopular views on the entire country. It's time for millions who support the Constitution and abortion rights to stand up and make our voices heard. We're not going back. Not ever. You think, hey, Luke, did you know that both Tim and Luke had the footage from the Don Bolduc debate and neither of them said anything? Both Tim Pool and Luke, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name because I don't know how to pronounce that. They both had the the Don Bolduc debate footage on Friday with where Don Bolduc tried to frame Joa for that attack and smeared him all over conservative media. Both Tim Pool and Luke knew that was a lie on Friday. They had the full footage and neither of them did anything. So I'm not going to say that they're shills for their own fucking nonsense, but they're shills for their own fucking nonsense. They don't care about the truth. They don't care about breaking the news. They don't care about any of that. Oh, I don't blame the Supreme Court either. I blame conservatives for messing around with this issue in the first place. Like I said earlier, this was done the minute that Texas introduced that law. This is the very definition of fuck around, find out. Republicans introduced that bill in Texas, the heartbeat bill in Texas, because they wanted it to go to the Supreme Court so that they could overrule Roe v. Wade. That was why they did it. It was specifically to overturn Roe v. Wade. And the Democrats set them up, and the Republicans took the bait. The minute that the Republicans introduced that bill in Texas was the minute that they lost the midterms last night. Think Elizabeth Warren isn't going to be pushing for some crazy shit? Of course she is. Of course she is. But Republicans don't care because they got their ruling. They'll never win another election again, and everything they want will be overturned anyway. But oh my God, they don't care about getting votes. The whole we don't care about getting votes and winning elections thing is possibly the absolute dumbest argument that I hear Republicans make.
True.
I don't understand it.
Correct.
It is
dumb
the
then and
dumbest
it's dumb now.
argument that I hear Republicans make. Can you imagine literally saying, I don't care about elections and getting votes?
Turned out well for them, didn't it? I'm feeling pretty good about myself right now, I have to say. I'm feeling a little smug.
Oh, this is fun. Check this out. So the right, for all their talk of ethics,
Oh, this is...
are
I remember
instantly
this.
behaving completely unethically.
God.
This is from Matt. Matt is a Republican advisor. A person named Amit clerks for the Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor. As a Yale student, Amit blasted Yale for supporting Brett Kavanaugh's nomination. Amit was quoted in a 2017 Politico piece by Josh Gerstein. Today, Gerstein published the draft SCOTUS opinion of Roe. Republicans just doxed a person that maybe leaked the document, but maybe didn't. So don't ever tell me that Republicans are the party of ethics. They just doxed someone without evidence. And by the way, since this, Republicans doxed a friend of mine and dragged him through the mud because they were pissed off that I became a libertarian. And that happened since I did this stream. Doxed a friend of mine, dragged him all over social media, completely fucked with his life, all because they were pissed off I became a libertarian. So this is not an isolated incident. This is what happens when Republicans are pissed off. They act no different than woke leftists. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Oh, this is a nice little factoid. The gay men in my audience are going to be particularly thrilled with this one.
God.
Oh, is it, Steven? Is it histrionic? Is it?
Oh, I was histrionic.
Steven.
I had a personality disorder because
you're going to get blocked.
I told the conservatives the truth. They were like, you're histrionic.
Again, like, this isn't even hard. This is why Republicans
Was I
lose.
histrionic?
Republicans don't know how. Bye, anti-commie. Republicans don't know how to actually be normal people. They have no idea. The Scooper Pooper says,
and by the way, like, Republicans say every time I block someone, they're like, you just can't take criticism. No, what I will not put up with is being told I'm being histrionic for telling you the truth, a truth that turned out to be 100% well, maybe not 100% correct, but like a good 90% correct. 6 months later, I was called insane. Republicans still today call me insane because I told them this was going to happen 6 months ago. I'm told I'm a narcissist. I'm told I'm histrionic. I was almost 100% correct. But instead of listening and doing something about it, they decided to smear me
and call me insane and drag me all over the internet and dox my friends because they couldn't be told that they were wrong and what would happen, and now they have suffered the consequences for it. CRT in every school, near ban on all firearms, hate speech legislation, any progressive legislation now. That's right. That is exactly right. All of their greatest hits are coming out. They're going to codify abortion first. That's going to be the biggest priority. Don't get it twisted. They are going to be fundraising off of this until November.
I was right about the
But
fundraising.
all of the greatest hits are coming out, folks.
I think their greatest
This is
hits
what
could still
happens
come out,
when
by
you
the way.
lose elections.
I don't think we've heard the last
This is what
of this.
happens when you say, I don't care about getting votes. All I care about is this one ruling. This is what happens when you care way too much about winning the battle that you lose your sight on the war.
True.
Oh, I walked away from the Republicans over a year ago because I knew that they were going to do shit like this. I will never vote for a Republican again.
True.
Absolutely not. Nope. Will not happen. Will not happen. I would rather the Republicans get their just desserts and lose every close election for the rest of my life than vote for a Republican ever again.
True.
Because that is what they have earned. What you experience will be the logical result of your contributions. You have earned losing.
No,
Patrick.
You know,
criticizing.
you know how I feel about threats of physical removal. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding because I know who you are, and so I think I know who you are anyway. So I'm not gonna, block you or anything. But
is Lawrence v. Texas, which legalized sodomy, and Oberfeld versus Hodges, legalizing same-sex marriage. He says that, like abortion, these decisions protect phony rights that are not deeply rooted in history.
by the way, not long after this, Ted Cruz said that they were going to try to repeal gay marriage. And I've heard from people in the chat today that they are again talking about repealing gay marriage. It's like you guys eke out a slight minor majority in the House when really you probably should have won 20 seats at least. And you eke out a slight minor majority in the Senate. And you know that you can't get any bills passed at all. And if you try, I swear to God, Republicans, if you try to legislate gay marriage after this, bro, like, has anyone else heard Republicans talking about legislating this today? The absolute gall and unhinged, like, lunacy of this idea is going to lose everything.
So congratulations, gay men.
True.
Sodomy is about to become illegal again.
True.
Gay marriage, too. I suppose that impacts more than just men, doesn't it? I'm sure Dave Rubin will be thrilled.
I wonder how Dave Rubin's feeling
learn that
today.
the conservatives are not people to be sucked up to.
True. Correct.
And if you think that that's just one thing,
Dave,
look at this. American Populist Union are going after all of these things. Oh, you thought it was just going to stop with abortion? You thought that that was going to be the only thing that they were going to go after when they started trying to be authoritarians over what you could do with your bodies?
I've heard they're trying to ban porn today. They're talking about that.
You will lose every single new voter that you gained under Trump. And Trump running again ain't going to bring them back because Trump has made too many mistakes.
True.
There is nothing that will bring them back. And there is nothing that can be done. Dems can't run a country. The world drowns with their decisions. After the Civil War, people will be okay. Well, no, there's not going to be a Civil War.
True.
Here's the other thing you guys don't understand. Let's talk about this for a second. Let's talk about this. That's not what I'm looking for. This is it. This person said that what were they responding to? We were talking about some of the implications for all of this.
Why didn't anyone tell me? I was breathing
and what
that
the
hard
Democrats
into
were
the
going to
mic.
do. And this person says, cage wounded animals lash out with all their dying might. Well, here is the problem, Republicans. It is not the Democrats who are the caged animals. You guys think that Democrats are the caged animals that are lashing out? No. It is not Democrats who are the caged animals. It is Republicans who are the caged animals.
True.
It is Republicans who are lashing out. This is what conservatives do not understand. Carlin's greatest fan, Dan the Man, Jan Can, Ban San. Well, I have to like that name. Let's talk about that in a sec. I will come back. This is what the right doesn't understand. They think that if they just play by the same rules that the left has used and use their tactics against them, then they'll win. And that is not true. That is universally not true. And the reason it is not true is because the Democrats control everything. Oh, you guys have audio issues? Probably because I touched the cord again. Are the audio issues gone? The Democrats control everything. You cannot play by the same rules when you are not in the power position. And what they really don't understand is that it is not the Democrats who are the caged animal and who are lashing out and who are going to lash out to this with this decision. They're going to lash out. Don't get me wrong. They're going to do everything that I've said and probably more. But it is not the Democrats who are the last dying, like lashing out with their last dying breath. It's the Republicans. The Republicans are the caged animal. The Republicans, with this decision, pushing this issue, the Republicans are the ones who are lashing out.
True.
And guess what? The Republicans are still in the cage. The Republicans are still wounded.
Still wounded now.
And now the Republicans are sitting wounded in their cage, and they are being surrounded by Democrats who want to kill them. That's the situation. I love seeing all the people that I have literally never seen in my chat today trying to convince me that they've just been here before and they just can't take it anymore and they're quitting. It is not new information that I'm pro-choice, guys. There is no win in this situation for Republicans. Where do we go from here? The only thing that can be done is to focus on a hyper-local level on getting woke nonsense out of schools. That's it. Joseph Jonathan says, we're screwed either way. Authoritarians everywhere. I'm over this. I completely agree with you, Joseph Jonathan. I am completely over this. We are so fucked. It is not even funny. It is not even funny. There was never a win for Republicans on this issue. That's why they should have just left it alone. There was no win for them. If you guys keep bringing up Florida as the reason that you won last night, do you understand that most people don't live in Florida? If that's your only evidence that you won last night is you had a big night in Florida, guess what? everyone told you you were gonna have a big night in Florida. Everyone said that. That was conceded from the beginning. Florida is one state. You should have taken like massive control yesterday, and you didn't. Because you said Florida, 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 DeSantis, 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 Ron DeSantis will save us all. On this issue. Even if they won, they lost. Correct. And even if it turns out that this doesn't end up being the ruling, it doesn't even matter. The battle was lost as soon as they brought the case. Savrit says, remember, the people have only the people. True. That's a really great point from Savrits. Hallie, you are 100% wrong. I'm sorry. You're a nice lady. I like you, but you are wrong on this. Correct. You're wrong. Sorry, Hallie. I appreciate you. Yep, we are so fucked it's not even funny. Thank you for the super sticker. Let me see if I have anything else. Oh, just as an aside. I just thought this was kind of funny. Because, you know, there have been some queens on the internet who have accused me of trying to blackmail them because I pointed out consequences of their actions. And so I just thought that this little quip was funny, and I kind of wanted to share it just in case any queens in England are watching. Justice Scalia to his new law clerks, as told by my former clerk, Ian Samuel. If I ever discover that you have betrayed the confidence of what goes on in these chambers, I will do everything in my power to ruin your career. It is true that this is an egregious breach of norms. It is absolutely true that this is an egregious breach of norms, an egregious breach of trust, an egregious breach of confidentiality. And none of that matters ultimately in terms of the impact of it, but it is all true. But apparently, Justice Scalia used to say, when he welcomed people in, he said, "Welcome aboard. I'm really happy to have you here. Here's how I run my chambers." Are you kidding me? Tim is a big boy. He can have whoever he wants on his show. I think it is very, very obvious who Tim's audience is, and it's not libertarians, Tim. It's an open door. If you need to talk to me about something, just come and talk. And he said, almost with a hint of regret, that he had to do this. Obviously, he was not regretful because he had to do it. He said, I just want to emphasize something, and I only want to say it once. If I ever discover that you have betrayed the confidences of what goes on in these chambers, I will do everything in my power to ruin your career. Then he just let it hang there for a second and moved on to other subjects. Because as it turns out, Queen from England, when you fuck someone over and betray their confidence, it has implications on your career. Who would have thought it? Correct. The Queen from England is now off all social media for a Supreme Court justice. It's good and enough has locked his Twitter. So I was correct about that too, but for completely different reasons. Where I'm at right now is, let me see. Let me find a good one to put up on the screen to describe where I'm at right now. This one, hang on. I think. Hang on. Milo is a villain because Milo blackmails people and sets people up and really takes advantage of every single person around him and is only interested in advancing himself and is high off his fucking gourd half of the time. If you guys want to know who Milo Yiannopoulos is, go and watch Lauren Southern's documentary. That's the best answer I can give. That's who Milo Yiannopoulos is. If only, James. We're gonna wrap this up in a sec, guys, so don't worry, we're almost done. I have killed myself for the last 2 years trying to get as many people to leave the left as I can. I have sacrificed time. I've sacrificed energy. I have sacrificed my sanity. I have sacrificed money. I have done everything I could to try to get people to wake up and leave the left. All of my work just got wiped out. That was true. I had to completely regroup. All of my work just got wiped out. And not just my work. The work of so many people. The work of so many people who outed themselves, got fired from their jobs, got ostracized by their families for daring to speak up against the woke bullshit. Everything that we've sacrificed just got thrown out the window because the right couldn't help themselves. True. Everything that we were trying to do just got thrown out the window because the right couldn't help themselves. They couldn't just leave it alone and try to change culture. They couldn't just leave it alone and work to change hearts and minds. You can make any excuse you want to make. You can say, it's just states' rights. I just don't understand why this is a big deal. Do you really want to be able to kill your baby that much? All things I've heard again today. Not what it's about. This is about a fundamental lack of understanding on the right about how important this issue is to women who have ever been even remotely connected to the left at all. I now know what it's like to hear me yell. Oh, you will lose, Ben. You will lose. You will lose. This is like, I don't care if we lose for 1,000 years. I don't care. Not only will you lose, I'm just going to keep repeating it until people start to understand this. Not only will you lose every close election for the rest of your life, you will not prevent abortions. There will be more abortions as a result of this. So you haven't saved any babies. No babies have been saved. Literally none. There will be more abortions because of this, because that's what happens. You accomplished nothing. It's going to get codified into federal law. State law. Lost slightly wrong. Everything. Savage says, this is the final social cataclysm. Savage, you might be right about that. How incredibly short-sighted. How incredibly short-sighted. You know, conservatives could have put their energy into starting charities to help women who would have had an abortion because they didn't feel like they could financially support the kid. Conservatives could have put all their energy into starting charities to help financially support women with unwanted pregnancies, to make it easier for them to have it. They could have done, you know, any sort of number of conferences and events about this. They could have tried appealing on this issue in any number of ways that was not this, and they refused to do it. They refused to do it. Once the right people want to keep it, don't ban stuff. Well, too late. Too late. They're like children. Honestly, I really do perceive conservatives to be like children. They are incredibly naive and incredibly simplistic in their decision making, which is why they always lose. I cannot even begin to understand how conservatives do not understand how they just bent over and got colossally fucked by this. I do not understand how they can't see what's coming. It is truly like they have not been paying attention at all in any way. If you want an example of what this is like, of how bad this is, you need to wake up one day and imagine the Supreme Court repealed the Second Amendment. That's how bad this is. This would, and here's what conservatives are going to say: that would never happen, Carla. The Second Amendment is God's law. No, it could happen, but also we're just imagining. We're playing pretend as an example. What if you woke up and found out that the Supreme Court had repealed the Second fucking Amendment? That is what this is like. How that would impact the right is exactly what is going to happen on the left. Except the left is significantly better organized and they're significantly better activists, and they are not afraid to do whatever they need to do to get their way, and that includes burning down the fucking country. That's how bad this is. Brian just emailed his governor on the issue. I think everyone needs to be emailing their governor on the issue, though. I mean, to be really blunt, I don't actually think it matters. This is the real black pill, guys. This is the one. I don't think any amount of politicking matters. Do you guys have any idea how many Democrat fundraising emails I've gotten this morning? I always get fundraising emails, mostly more Republican than Democrat, to be honest. I have been bombarded all day with Democrat fundraising emails, and they're all saying the same thing. By the way, I want to say this because that was a little bit of a black pill moment in that stream. I don't think all hope is lost. I wish that people would listen and learn from the things that have happened and to make changes to the strategy that they're using. That's the thing that needs to change. Every moment of every day is an opportunity to make a new decision. It's an opportunity to change course. It's an opportunity to try something new. If what you have been doing isn't working, then you need to change. You need to be honest with yourself that it's not working and you need to change direction. The right could decide today, you know what? We fucked ourselves. And we got to stop on the abortion stuff. Now, will they do that? No. No, they won't. But they could. And if they did that today and they just said, you know what, we need to let go of abortion. We got Roe overturned. We have done all we can do. Any more talk of banning things is not going to go well for us. If we try to ban gay marriage, it's not going to go well for us. If we try to ban porn, it's not going to go well for us. We need to let the social issues go and focus on the economy and the schools. That's what the right needs to do. But they won't. But they can. The base on the conservative right can push their leaders and their influencers to do things differently. I understand that being honest about what happened here is not going to be an inconvenient or is not going to be. Let me start again. I understand that what happened here is not going to be a convenient reality to grapple with on the right. I understand fully and completely that it is not a convenient reality to grapple with the fact that conservative influencers were so wrong on the impact of the repeal of Roe v. Wade on the midterm elections. They have to deal with the fact that they told their audience and assured their audience that it would be fine, that the American people were on their side. Do you know how many people I've had tell me say, Carlin, there are more pro-life women than they are pro-choice women, and most women are pro-life. And Carlin, do you really think that mothers are pro-choice? Conservative influencers lied to their audiences about reality. And so in order to acknowledge how wrong they were, they either have to acknowledge that they maybe were engaging in a little bit of wishful thinking and confirmation bias, or they just have to say, you know what? We got it wrong. And we need to admit that we got it wrong so that we can focus on what we need to do right. In order to fix the problem, you have to admit what caused the problem in the first place. And you have to identify the correct cause of the problem. So saying, there was fraud! If you default to the fraud issue, you are not identifying the correct cause of the problem. If you're saying, wouldn't it be nice if only married people could vote? You are not identifying the correct cause of the problem. If you are saying, really, only people over 30 who own property should be able to vote, you are not identifying the correct cause of the problem. If you say, God damn it, those young people today, you're not identifying the correct cause of the problem. If you deflect at all, if you do anything else other than take radical responsibility for what got you in this mess in the first place, then you are not identifying the correct cause of the problem. That's where you need to start, is taking radical responsibility for what got you in this mess in the first place. And lying and engaging in conspiracy theories and making things up that have no basis in reality at all, you can do it if you want to. Your influencers have been doing it all day. The Daily Wire has mastered this skill set. You can do it, but I think you're going to pay dearly in 2024 if you do. And the problem is that when you pay dearly, the rest of us do too. Oh, are Tim and Milo already fighting? Kind of makes me want to tune in. Anyway, guys, it's 8 o'clock. I think I have made my point. I think I was right about the vast majority of things that I said in this video 6 months ago. Mount that like button if you think I did a fairly good job of predicting exactly what would happen in the midterms. I said in this video it was not going to be a red wave, it was going to be a red trickle at best. And a red trickle is exactly what it is. I said it was going to cost you elections, and it did cost you elections. I said abortion was going to drive record-breaking, not only record-breaking Democratic fundraising, but record-breaking turnout, and it did that. I got a lot right in this stream, and I was one of the only people who was telling you the truth on day one. Because I don't care about pleasing you. If you're pleased with what I say, great. But my priority is and has always been on telling you the truth of the situation to the very best of my ability at the time. And for me, this was always so clear how this was going to play out. So I think I did a fairly good job.
Guys, that's gonna wrap it up for today. Just as a reminder, I will be streaming at 5 PM tomorrow. We're gonna do something a little different. We're gonna start out on my channel, and we're gonna be joined by the amazing Andrew Gold and the amazing, and he's not in the thumbnail yet, but he will be because he just sent me his headshot on Twitter. We are also gonna be joined by the amazing Aaron Smith-Levin. Because if you have never seen Aaron Smith-Levin before, you guys are going to love him. He was in Scientology all of his life. He escaped the cult of Scientology. He was in Leah Remini's series. He has a channel called Growing Up in Scientology. He's been doing great content. I've watched a lot of his content. I'm so excited. Andrew and him have been doing content together lately around the Scientology like rape trial. And I just like I adore Andrew. Andrew is one of my favorite guests. He's one of my favorite friends of the channel, and we are going to be having a conversation about the attributes of an effective cult. We're going to start on my channel. We're going to do 45 minutes on my channel, and then we're going to go over to Andrew's channel, and we're going to have an additional conversation on Andrew's channel. So how fun is that? I'm really looking forward to it. Join me at 5 PM Eastern time tomorrow for that stream, something a little different, just to break us up from the norm. And guys, if you appreciate the work I'm doing and you want to support it, please head over to activelyunwoke.com/support. You can sign up on my Patreon. You can also sign up on my locals or Substack. Your financial support is what keeps these streams possible. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, that's all I have for tonight, guys. Please mount that like button on the way out the door. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you want the truth about what's going to happen 6 months before it actually happens, I'm one of the only people giving it to you, man. Whether you like it, whether you hate it, whether you love me, whether you hate me, whether you like my tone, whether you think I'm a condescending bitch, I will always tell you guys the truth, even when you don't want to hear it. And then you'll have the opportunity to make some choices about what you want to do about it. I hope you guys are going to make good choices. That's all I've got for right now, guys.